What if Naruto was lord of 7 deadly sins? Naruto smirked as the ref called him and Neji to the field. Why the smirk, dope? Does the fact I'm about to kick a prodigy's ass, a Hyuga prodigy's ass at that, not merit a smirk? What makes you think you'll beat me? The only change I see is your choice of clothes. It was true. Naruto had changed his clothes quite a bit since the last time anyone had seen him a month ago. He now wore tight black leather pants. He had switched his blue open-toe sandals for black ones. He wore a muscle shirt that did nothing to hide his arm wraps went from his shoulder to his first set of knuckles. Naruto gave a fox-like smile, and put a finger to his lips in a silencing gesture. Shush. It's a secret, but I'll give you a hint. It's the same thing that allows the Hyuga to use their special eyes. Neji raised an eyebrow. You have a bloodline limit? What Naruto did surprised everyone. He nodded. Actually, I have too. Neji laughed. Even if both your parents had a Kekkei Genkei, the odds were you inherited both are 1 in a billion. Naruto's fox-like grin broadened. Good thing I'm very lucky, isn't it? Neji sneered. Even if you did inherit both, you were an orphan, so who taught you? Well, my father's is literally self-explanatory, and my mom left me the information on scroll for me. I'll give you the choice, Neji. Which would you like to be beaten down by? My father's, or my mother's? I'll give to the count of 9. Naruto questioned, crossing his arms as he spoke. You can't use them at the same time, can you? Neji asked the counting Naruto. 9. 8. 7. Actually, I can. But, since I plan to reach the finals, I can't go showing all my tricks right off the bat. 6. 5. 4. 3. Naruto smirked as a fist plowed into Neji's face, and sent him flying. Flipping, Neji caught himself. Activating his Byakugan, Neji dodged 2 more. Naruto's as they poofed into existence. With a grunt, Neji dispelled the cage bunshin around him. Neji gave Naruto, who hadn't uncrossed his arms the entire time, a wide-eyed look. You didn't use hand seals? Naruto finished for the shocked prodigy. That's my mom's bloodline limit. I can perform techniques that my body is used to, ones that I use a lot. Naruto rubbed his chin thoughtfully. 10. What? 10. That's the number of clones I need to use to beat you, unless you got a defense like Gaara. Naruto performed a quick seal set as 10 Naruto clones appeared around Neji. I thought you don't need seals for your cage bunshin? Naruto smirked. That wasn't a seal for a mere cage bunshin no jutsu. Oh no, that was seal set for his clones, dog-piled Neji. Cage bunshin daibakufu no jutsu. Neji's eyes widened as he saw the clones glow. Neji only had time to think, damn, before Naruto's clones exploded. Though it looked to all those watching that Naruto had managed to win and Neji would be taken out in a stretcher, Naruto frowned. Damn it. He really did have an absolute defense. His voice carried throughout the large stadium, and everyone saw what he meant when the smoke cleared. Neji was spinning in giant ball of chakra, unscathed but breathing hard. Damn it. Ero Sennin warned me a Hyuga prodigy may know Kaden. Naruto growled. Up in the stands, the 2 judges praised Naruto. Even if the attack failed, he forced the Hyuga to show his trump card relatively quickly. He also has the brains to keep his other bloodline a secret and use only one in the fights until he needs to use the second. Then there's the fact he even has 2 bloodline limits, let alone has awakened both at such a young age. The second of the 2 judges nodded. Looks like we have our first Chunin applicant. How do you know of the Kaden? Neji asked, curious as to where the younger boy had earned of the Hyuga family absolute defense. Naruto shrugged. The guy the first trained with over the last month. I asked him what he knew of that I should know when fighting a Hyuga. He mentioned the Kaden. Neji looked all the more intrigued. Who taught you this last month? Naruto shrugged. Jiraiya the Toad Hermit, one of the Sennin. I just call him Ero Sennin. Did you know he's the guy who writes, Icha Icha Paradise? Neji's, not to mention the rest of the stadiums, jaws hit the floor. You were trained by Jiraiya-sama? Naruto snorted. I'm not so sure I'd say, Sama, but yes I was. The old bastard gave me some of the worst news I've ever got. It seems the original move I had been working on, and almost finished too, already exists. Though I guess it's okay since only the Yondaime, Ero Sennin, Kakashi-sensei, and now myself have been able to master the damn thing. Naruto held out his right hand. This is the technique that I was saved the hassle of naming. This is, a Swirling ball of blue chakra appeared in his outstretched hand, causing gasps to travel throughout the entire stadium as people recognized the jutsu. What the Yondaime named Rasengan, Naruto roared as he charged. Neji's eyes widened as he re-performed Kaden, confident that it would save him. Fool! Rasengan may be small, but it is immensely powerful. The Kaden is chakra being spun one way. Rasengan is chakra being spun in random directions at once. The Rasengan will overpower the Kaden, and convert it into a giant Rasengan, shredding you in the process. The audience watched in stunned silence as the blonde's words proved true. As the two balls of chakra connected, the visible direction of the Kaden changed from uniformly clockwise to random directions. Pumping even more chakra into the move, Naruto took control off the Kaden from Neji. After a minute Naruto cancelled the move. As the swirling ball disappeared, Neji fell to the ground, covered head to foot in his blood. Why do you fight destiny with such passion, Uzumaki? Everyone noted the shift from put-downs to the use of clan names. Simple. If I accepted it, then I would be long dead by now, and I have no desire to die as a nameless person who just threw life blaming all my troubles on things like fate and destiny. Naruto's voice carried throughout the stadium. So, do you yield? Or do I need to kick a man when he's down? No one else saw it, but Neji could swear he saw Naruto's eyes flash black with a white pupil, before they shifted back to his normal eyes. That would be degrading for both of us. Yes, I yield. With that the Hyuga fainted from blood loss. A med nin team poofed into existence around the fallen boy. One of the medics walked over to Naruto. Are you alright, Uzumaki-san? Blinking at Uzumaki-san, Naruto nodded. Yeah, I'm fine. All I need is a bit of rest to regain the chakra I used. May I know the name of the first person to call me Uzumaki-san? Naruto replied as they walked to the edge of the stadium. The young woman smiled. Hi, I'm Shizune. Naruto froze in place. As in Tsunade's apprentice? Hi, we got a message from Jiraiya saying Orochimaru is here. That coupled with some information convinced Tsunade-sensei to return. Naruto nodded. Well, it was nice meeting you, Shizune-san. The fox child waved as he gathered chakra to his feet, and walked up the stadium wall to where the whole group waited. So, how'd I do? He asked the stunned group. Well, this any good? Tell me your opinion. I don't care what that opinion is. Anyway, vote for who's in the harem. I leave it open for any ideas. In which a flashback explains stuff not update, just spelling fixes last time. The fox child waved as he gathered chakra to his feet, and walked up the stadium wall to where the whole group waited. So, how'd I do? He asked the stunned group. Now Naruto's cheerful greeting was met with stunned silence. What, do I have something on my face? Naruto cocked his head to one side. Before they could respond, a Chunin jumped next to Naruto. Uzumaki-san, Kokage-sama wishes to talk with you immediately. After receiving Naruto's accepting nod, the Chunin leapt off. Bet he thinks he's such hot stuff, playing messenger for Ojii-san. Oh well, I'll be back as soon as I can. Waving, Naruto walked towards the cage box, not noticing their still shocked expressions. Sakura was the first to break out of her shock. Was that Naruto? I mean our Naruto, the dope Y prankster? Her question went unanswered as the rest were still too shocked to give a response. You wanted me, Ojii-san? Naruto asked as he walked up to Sarutobi's seat. The Sandaime observed Naruto with a critical eye. Yes. I would like to know how you awakened a bloodline even I have never heard of. That, and I would like to know what your other one is. Sarutobi's tone told Naruto not to joke around. Naruto's eyes scanned the area. Is there somewhere more private? Sarutobi turned to the disguised Orochimaru. Kazekage Dono. Could. The snake nodded. Of course Hokage Dono. I need to attend to some business anyway. With that he left. Damn. With Sarutobi on alert I won't be able to overhear. That better. Hi. Well, 2 days into the training. Flashback, Naruto had just been thrown off the cliff by the hot springs, when he felt a pull in the back of his mind. Allowing the pull to take him, Naruto found himself in a sewer-like place. Okay. I give, where am I? Look behind you. Naruto turned to a row of large bars that connected to the walls on either side. In the middle of the bars was single piece of paper with the kanji for seal. In the shadows behind the cage, there was monstrous shape moving about. Well, you came to me. What do you want? I get it, that red chakra belongs to Kyuubi, duh. I want some chakra, stupid furball. Consider it rent for staying in my body. For a moment there was silence, then Kyuubi burst out laughing. Well, brat, you beat me to it. I was just about to offer you a deal in a few days, and you would gain chakra from it. Interested? I'll tell you after I hear it. The amount of chakra you released at the bridge shall be made permanently available to you. On the condition you tear a fourth of that seal off, this will allow us easier communication. It will let the two of us share senses, which would increase your own, and allow me to experience the outside world. Don't worry, I'll still be locked up in here. So, interested? Kyuubi rumbled. Would there be any side effects? And how do I know you aren't lying? As far as side effects go, your face marks will be more pronounced, and your ears may become pointed. As for trusting me, demons can't lie, not because it's beneath, but we simply can't. Fine. Anything else? Actually, yes. I have a bet for you, if you manage to make Chunin, I will allow you to sign the Fox summon contract. You've got yourself a bet. Give me the chakra, Fox. Very well, be warned this will hurt. Nodding, Naruto jumped up and ripped a fourth of the paper. As he landed, Naruto felt a sharp pain from the places of his five senses. The pain spread throughout his entire being as Kyuubi's crimson chakra poured from behind Kyuubi's cage. For a moment Naruto felt something snap in his mind, but quickly lost it in the pain. Kyuubi watched indifferently as Naruto writhed in pain. His tiny respect for the human increased as the child didn't make a sound as he went through something that would make most weep. After a few minutes Naruto stood, panting, to his feet. Anything else? No, so leave. Hold, we wish to speak to him. A proud voice spoke from behind Naruto. Spinning around he was shocked at what he saw. Behind him stood 7 hymns. Who are you? The one standing on the far left spoke. We are you, or more precisely your sins. I am Kumon. Kumon wore a starch-clean black business suit. His hair was grown out into a ponytail. The sin of pride. His eyes were black with a white pupil. Next to speak was a Naruto that looked like Naruto on the bridge when Haku had killed Sasuke, without the orange jacket, bound in chains. Gakido, the sin of wrath. Gakido growled. A fat version spoke next. Baoshoku, the sin of gluttony. Other than an unzipped jacket and beady black eyes, sounded half-starved. An emo-ish version of Naruto was next. Shito, the sin of envy. Tada, sin of sloth. Tada gave a lazy wave from his spot laying on the floor. The differences in Tada seemed limited to the lack of jacket, headband, and the horizontally slit blue eyes. I'm Nikuyoku, sin of lust. Nikuyoku had violet-colored eyes. Other than that the differences seemed limited to the loss of the jacket, and a strange aura that came off him. The last was by far the most changed of them all. Instead of the open-toed nin shoes he wore leather combat boots, tight leather pants. He wore no jacket, only a loose muscle shirt. He wore a pair of wireframe glasses that covered a slited version of Nikuyoku eyes. Danyoku, sin of greed. Most interesting, you all woke up. And so quickly, Kyuubi murmured from behind Naruto. Gaki, be honored. It appears your father had a trace of a bloodline, with the most powerful Kekkei Genkai. He was powerful, very powerful, yet he never had access to this. Imagine what you could do if you have his skill, and this bloodline. Naruto snapped around to face the fox, deciding to ignore the sins for now. You know who my father was? Kyuubi snorted. Of course. How could I not know the man who put me in here? Why you mean that? Yes, your father was Namikaze Minota, the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha. I leave you to, well, yourself. With that the shadows in the cage consumed what little Naruto could see of the ancient Biju. I suppose you want to know about us, Danyoku asked as Naruto turned face the group behind him. Later, right now I want to get out of here. Danyoku nodded. You'll be able to talk us at any time. We'll continue this after you get up the cliff. And pound Jiraiya. The sins began to walk down the hallway, out into the maze of Naruto's mind. Wait. How'd I get out? Oops, sorry. Danyoku snapped his fingers, and Naruto found himself back in the ravine. Quickly doing the inge, Naruto summoned Gamabunta. Several hours later Naruto was doing something he had never done before. He was meditating. Inside Naruto's head after he had arrived, Danyoku explained how, since it was his mind, Naruto could change how it looked. So, explain please. Naruto ordered, sitting on a stool at Ichiraku. Danyoku spoke. He seemed to be the Sin's leader and main spokesperson. Well, what do you want to know? Naruto rubbed his chin. First off, what is the origin of this Kekkei Genkai? Pride spoke. Several thousand years ago, there was a religion called Christianity. He gestured to himself and the other sins. Are the personification of that religion's greatest sins. Your great to the 50th great-grandfather managed to come in contact with a very powerful demon. He had managed to earn this demon's respect, and so the demon gave him a gift. Now before he had even met the demon, your ancestor had a mental disorder called MPD, multiple personality disorder. Your ancestor's wish was for the personalities to be given powers, and the ability to manifest those abilities on high own person, as well as summon them into the corporal world. Danyoku picked up from there. The demon went one step further. He offered to make the abilities inheritable, making it a Kekkei Genkai. The requirement was that each person, in order to awaken the personas, had to come into contact with a demonic chakra source, and inherent demonic traits. We would have been awakened much sooner, but the seal kept enough chakra locked away that we couldn't. Naruto nodded. Abilities. Envy raised his hand. I can change my shape. Kinda like a henge, but I really become what I change into, to the point that I can mate with others of the species. And the transformation is totally undetectable. Next was Gekido. My arms and legs can be stretched, like Orochimaru could stretch his neck, and I've got really sharp claws. I can eat anything. Baoshoku said, sounding eager when he said, eat. My ability is like the Sharingan. I can see opponents' moves in advance. However, unlike the Sharingan, I actually see into the future. I don't follow the chakra flow, so I can't copy their jutsus, Kumon said. Next up was Nikuyoku. He held up his hand. See these nails? They can be extended to any length, and can pierce anything. Tada yawned. I'm not really a fighter, I'm a tactician. Think. Shikamaru to an extreme. When I do get hit, I can dissolve into liquid. Danyoku laughed. And that's about all you'll hear him say, unless he's telling us a strat. Anyway, I can encase my body in an impenetrable armor. And in case you're wondering which would win, Nikuyoku's spear or my shield, it depends on the amount of chakra used. Again, Naruto nodded. -4 days after last scene. Come on Naruto, you can do better. Jiraiya taunted as the two had a light, for the Sennin, spar. While Naruto was sweating bullets, Jiraiya wasn't even breathing hard. Shut up, Arrow Sennin. You have no idea how tiring Danyoku's shield is. To say the Sin of Greed's ability was tiring was an understatement like no other. Even with his huge stores of chakra, Naruto could only cover his hand and forearm on one arm, and he could only hold it for a few minutes. Having used the taxing ability a few times, Naruto was exhausted. Suddenly Jiraiya was behind him, fist raised in what was to be the last move of the match. That was until a fist collided with his face, making him skid back a few feet. The Toad Sennin was shocked to see a Naruto Kage Bunshin standing where the attack came from. How did I do that? I didn't do the Inge, Naruto stuttered. Jiraiya grinned. Congrats Naruto, you just woke up your mother's Kekkei Genkai. It allows you to use jutsu you're familiar with, without seals. It also boosts your control and the ease you pick up jutsu. It has one other aspect. I suppose you've never heard of elemental chakra? Naruto shook his head. Well, here we go. There are 5 basic elements of chakra: fire, wind, lightning, earth, and water, with each being weaker than the previous, and stronger to the next. Additionally, elemental jutsu can be countered by techniques of the same element, provided the counter is at least at the same level of power as the attacking jutsu. Everyone naturally leans to one element. Those at Junin level often have 2. This bloodline gives you the ability to use all 5. Jiraiya smirked at Naruto's shocked face. For the rest of the month, you will be working on becoming familiar with all your current jutsu, and if you do it fast enough, I'll teach you a jutsu that'll go with your shadow clones. End flashback. After that we spent the next 2 weeks doing just that. 2 days later Jiraiya found me practicing the Rasengan, only at that point I had only gotten halfway what he called step 2, being dully impressed. He taught what I hadn't figured out on my own. Sarutobi's jaw hit the floor. After a minute, he was able to pick up his it up. Very impressive, Naruto. What are the names of these Kekkei Genkai? I call Odo Sans, Shichi Gakidoku, and Okawa Sans. Anshumosaku Inge. While Naruto told the Sandame of his training, Orochimaru found a secluded Kabuto. Yes, Orochimaru-sama? The bespectacled ninja asked, stepping into view. I want you to hold off the invasion signal. Naruto-kun's newfound abilities interest me. Hold it till you feel like it's appropriate time. Hi, Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru cackled as his right-hand man took off. Show me what these Kekai Genkai can do, Naruto-kun. Kukukukuku. Down in the stadium, the ref was giving Sasuke a reprimand for tardiness. Yeah, whatever. Start the match, ref. Subaku Gaara, to the field. Gaara appeared in a swirl of sand. Hajime. A.N. First, translations. Kumon Pride. Gakido Wrath Baoshoku Gluttony Shido Envy Tada Sloth. Nikuyoku Lust Danyoku Greed Shichi Gakido 7 Deadly, sound familiar? Looks a title? Anshumosaku Inge. Without hand seals you should know the rest of the Japanese in there. Yes, the Sin's basic looks and abilities are based on Full Metal Alchemist's homunculi. Also I'm opening a few more pulls. Good or bad Sasuke? I'm opening a harem for Kakashi. This'll most likely have 2 or 3 women in it. Keeping that in mind, I'm going to keep the poll for Naruto's harem members open till at least next update. Laters. Return to Top Toads beat Bugs last time. Down in the stadium, the ref was giving Sasuke a reprimand for tardiness. Yeah, whatever. Start the match, ref. Subaku Gaara, to the field. Gaara appeared in a swirl of sand. Hajime. Now instantly, Sasuke attacked. Delivering fast and powerful attacks, he startled Gaara by almost moving fast enough to get past the sand shield. It continued in this vein for some time, until Sasuke actually landed a hard axe kick that cut Gaara's right cheek. Smiling a crazed smile only a sleep-deprived insomniac such as himself could, Gaara wrapped himself in a sand cocoon. Sasuke's repute surprised and awed most in the audience, and severely pissed off Naruto, as Sasuke clasped his left wrist. The stadium was filled with the sound of 1,000 chirping birds. Sasuke had learned the Chidori. Naruto growled deeply in his throat. Surprised Sasuke's improved so much, Naruto narrowed his blue eyes, which Kakashi swore winked red, at his Junin. Taking a deep breath, Naruto waved Kakashi off. Surprised? Why should I be surprised? An ex-Anbu captain, one-on-one, trained the emo. Blatantly ignoring the fact said ex-Anbu captain was supposed to be training 3 people. What in the 3 months with you, sensei, have you taught me, or Sakura, beyond simple tree walking? During the month you would have had me training, with Ebisu, I found myself a new sensei. Kakashi's visible eye widened as Naruto bit his right thumb, did some seals, and slammed his open palms onto the ground. In a poof of smoke, a slightly larger than normal red toad appeared. Yo, Naruto ni. What's up? The toad boss's son greeted, hopping on his summoner's shoulders. Naruto shrugged. Yo, Gamakichi. I wanted to prove I'm Ero Sennin's apprentice, and I couldn't exactly summon your pops into such a situation. He'd have my head for summoning him for something so trivial. The red toad nodded his agreement, shuddering at what his old man might have done. You think I could hang here for a while? There isn't much for me to do back in the summon world, Gamakichi asked. Naruto shrugged. What did you do this time? Gamakichi gave an indignant huff. You think I, the noble son of the toad boss, am the source of a prank about to be pulled on my own father? Naruto chuckled loudly. I'll have to get the details later. Anyway, Naruto turned his gaze back to Kakashi. I have every right to hate you, but I don't. I understand your desire to repay the Uchiha for Obito, but the Yondaime wouldn't have wanted you to become so single-minded. It's not like the man you became after Obito's death. It's far more like the person you were when you didn't care about your teammates' survival. Turning on his heel, he began to walk away. Oh, I need to talk to you in private later, Kakashi. Walking a few rows away, Naruto plopped down and began to talk in hushed voices with his summon, leaving Kakashi and the others to think about what he had said. Back in the Sasuke was panicking as he tried to pull the arm that had delivered the Chidori out of Gaara's cocoon. What's more, that weird star eye scared him shitless. Suddenly Sasuke was pinned to the wall by a sand-made arm with blue markings all over it, the 4 of the pin knocking him out. It was at this point that Naruto stepped in. Gamakichi still resting on his shoulders. With a Kyuubi chakra-charged hand, he shattered the arm. Naruto looked straight at the Shukaku's eye, charging some Kyuubi chakra into his eyes. Naruto's eyes also took on the appearance of his inner demon. This match is over. Shukaku no Gaara. The demon's eye widened at the boy's recognition of him. The sand-made cocoon dissolved to reveal a normal-looking Gaara. He's correct, ref, the winner is obvious. Gaara spoke in his deadly calm voice, nodding. The ref declared Gaara the winner, and called for Shino to come to the arena. Shino walked onto the field. As always, he was the very picture of calm. I have a question for you, Naruto-san. Shino spoke as he entered the stadium arena. Oh? Naruto asked after getting past his shock of both the san and hearing the Aburame speak. Yes. What is that crimson chakra of yours? It scares my insects, and frankly that scares me. If the bug user was scared, he hid it well. Naruto grinned. Sorry, top secret info. Shino shrugged. I figured as much, shall we? You do realize I'm your least favorable matchup, how so? Grinning mischievously, Naruto pointed at Gamakichi. I can summon bigger than him, way bigger. You're gonna need more defense than just your insects. Oh, really? Shino murmured, insects leaking from the crevices of his body and cracks in the stadium walls. The size of the summon doesn't mean it's incredibly powerful. Yeah, really. Biting his thumb and doing the inge, Naruto slammed his palms into the ground. The size may not matter, but that wasn't my point. The point is the type of my summons, and the amount they can eat. Naruto's voice spoke through the smoke. As the smoke cleared, Naruto was seen sitting on Jiraiya's main summon toad. Chow time, Akagama. As soon as the words left the blonde Jinchuriki's mouth, the large toad began to devour all the bugs in sight, Gamakichi also snatching what he could without leaving Naruto's shoulders. Shino stood in shock as his waves of bugs were devoured by the oversized toad, frowning as he lost the connection to the one he had planted on Naruto himself. Like I said, worst matchup. The bugs you summon to outright attack me will be eaten by Akagama. Gamakichi shall eat the ones you place on me. What will you do now that you can no longer use your bugs? Naruto crossed his arms as he stared at Shino. This isn't a man you can charge, Naruto-sama. Remember what happened to the Sound Nin who fought him in the prelims. Tada reminded him. I know, Tada. Naruto thought back, keeping his eyes warily on the man in front of him. After a few moments of thought, Shino went to perform a seal set, only to find that as soon as he moved, Naruto created 4 clones. One got each leg and arm. Akagama stretched out, stopping a foot from Shino's neck. I believe that's pin, ref. Naruto said, after Shino tried to escape, but Akagama's tongue moved closer, a warning that the toad would knock him out if he kept struggling. The Junin nodded. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Unlike last time, where the applause had started slowly, the applause came immediately. Naruto grinned as he got the recognition he had always craved. If Kumon weren't dignified, he would also be doing the happy dance with Danyoku and Nikuyoku in Naruto's mindscape. Congratulations, Kit. Kyuubi's voice said. Thanks, Kyuheim. That had been one of the more surprising things that he had learned from Kyuubi. She was female, a very beautiful female at that. Ever since she had told, and proved by changing to her human form, him, Naruto had called her Kyuheim. Kyuubi thanked the fact the sins were looking the other way. She really didn't want Nikuyoku's teasing her about the light blush on her face. The sins and she were in what used to be Naruto's sewer-like mindscape. One of the things they had taught him while he slept was the fact that, as it was his mind, he could change the scenery as he pleased. The cell room was built like a spacious living room, the couches littering here and there all faced towards a large TV that showed what Naruto was looking at. On the wall directly opposite the TV there were 9 doors, each having the written kanji of the occupant's name on them. From left to right it was, Kumon, Baoshoku, Tada, Naruto, Kyuubi, Danyoku, Nikuyoku, Shito, and finally Gakido. Kyuubi sat on the couch directly in front of the TV. She wore a simple home hakama, her long ruby hair reached down to her ass, her pretty red eyes were unslitted due to her human form. Around her neck she wore a tight-fitting collar, it was too thick to be a simple necklace, with the word, seal, in kanji on the front. With her measurements being height 169 b 95 w 55 h 85, she was quite the beauty. as Nikuyoku was more than happy to constantly remind her. We will have a 1-hour lunch break when we return the final round of the Chunin exam between Subaku no Gaara and Uzumaki. Naruto will commence as soon as both fighters are in the ring. With that, the crowds dispersed to lunch. Deciding to put on a bit of a show, Naruto had Akagama jump him up to the rookie 9. Just before the oversized toad landed on Kiba and Choji, Naruto unsummoned him in a large poof, and landed next to them harmlessly. What? Did the big old toad scare you too? Naruto asked, grinning at their pissed-off looks. Ignoring past that point, Naruto walked over to his team's sensei, which had plopped down on the rose bench. You up for that talk, Kakashi-sensei? Looking at Naruto in slight surprise in his one eye at the fact he still got called sensei, Kakashi nodded. Sure. Kakashi said, standing. Poof us over to Gigi first, he has my father's will. Though curious as to why the Hokage would be the holder of Naruto's father's will. Kakashi nodded. Naruto faced the others. As much as I'd love to treat such lovely ladies to lunch, I have an appointment to keep. Naruto smirked a bit seeing the blushing faces of the girls present. Another time perhaps, Naruto trailed off as Kakashi poofed them over to the cage box. Hello. Kakashi-kun, Naruto-kun. The Sandame greeted as the two poofed in front of him as he stood. The will is in a safe in my office, shall we? They nodded, all three poofing away to the Hokage's office. Yo. Sorry about the wait and the shortness, but I've kinda hit a block on this story. As for the kakabashing, he pissed me off with his favoritism so I had to add it. Naruto. Sakura, Hinata, Tayuya, Tamari, Kyuubi. Not that you didn't guess after this chap, and OC. The order isn't decided yet, but Hinata will most likely be first. Kakashi. Shizune and Rin, I need ideas for her, leaving, and such. The Namikaze will, and the eyes of a sin last time. Hello. Kakashi-kun, Naruto-kun. The Sandame greeted as the two poofed in front of him as he stood. The will is in a safe in my office, shall we? They nodded, all three poofing away to the Hokage's office. Now the three poofed back into existence in the Hokage's office, Sarutobi managing to poof straight into his chair. Excuse me, Hokage-sama, but I'm curious. Why are you the custodian of Naruto's father's will? And why is it I'm here to hear it? Kakashi asked him, and Naruto taking a seat across from the old man. The Sandame sighed. You are going to be rather angry with my answer, Kakashi-kun. The old man said, standing up and walking to one of his many bookcases. After a minuet of browsing in front of the case, he pulled out a few books, showing they had hid a safe that was imposed into the wall. Opening the safe, he pulled out a letter and a book, looking to be a diary. Bulging with extra paper, the book had obviously not been made to hold, a thick cord holding it close. Walking back to his seat, and sitting down, Sarutobi explained the two items. This, he gestured at the letter, is your father's last will and testament. This, he held up the book, is the journal he kept since becoming a genin. He opened the will, and read it aloud. Being of sound mind and body, my wife and I leave this double will. Yo, son, first off, our son, we apologize for the burden we have placed on you. We could no other family for their child to carry this burden, even if we could. You are the only one that fit the requirements for the seal. I left behind a wish that you be treated as a hero, but Kushina and I are realists, and don't believe it shall be followed, and we are sorry for that. Now that we're past the depressing stuff, I want you to know something, you're fucking rich. The Namikaze family has long since been a rich line, and the missions I did during the war made us even richer. Having 50 S-class missions done in the span of 4 years does that. I have a large estate near the Hyuga compound. Have the old man give you the keys and show you how to get there. There's one more thing I want to tell you about that you get from me, clan restoration rights. You, my boy, get every mon's dream. A harem. As the last of the, insert snort here, noble, Namikaze clan, you are not only allowed, but obligated, to take more than one wife. You lucky bastard you. By the way, you aren't a bastard. We were happily married at the time of your birth. I now hand you to my lovely wife. Hello, son, as this dip I call my husband said, you get a harem, but if you turn out to be even more of a perv than your old man, I swear I'll come back from the dead to torture it out of you. I don't know how old you were at the time you were reading this, so you may or may not have know this already, but I have a Kekai Genkai that should make the ninja life that I'm sure you've chosen to take easier. The information on the abilities are in a separate scroll that the arrow Senin, Jiraiya. I don't come from a nin family, despite my bloodline, so I don't have anything special to give you. I come from a humble trade family. I met your father at the ramen stand my family ran. Ichiraku ramen stand. My father, Tucci, and my younger sister, Ayame, are still alive, to the best of my knowledge. Included with this will is a picture of the three of us right after you were born, and the house has pictures of the whole family. Before you ask, no, your father has no other relations. We love you, remember that. Goodbye, Naruto. Love Namikaze Minota and Uzumaki Kushina. Naruto was frozen in place by shock. He had family? He was related to Tucci and Ayame? He got a harem? Score. Nikuyoku and Danyoku yelled inside Naruto's head. Kumon nodding his agreement, the others simply enjoying the thought of a harem more like normal male teens with nosebleeds. Kyuubi narrowed her eyes in. Jealousy? A low growl coming from her throat. Kakashi was shaking, waves of killer intent rolling off him. His visible eye narrowed at the Hokage. You? Kakashi roared at the old man, who flinched. I was supposed to be his godfather. You told me my sensei's son died in the Kyuubi attack. The cycloptic ninja calmed, though his breath still came in rugged gasps as he looked at Naruto, who was wide-eyed at Kakashi's proclamation. Why you were supposed to be my GG godfather? Naruto stammered out, a look of nervous hope in his eyes. Forgetting that he was supposed to be a badass now. Kakashi resumed his more calmed exterior, though anyone who knew him could tell he was still pissed. Hi. I even tried to adopt you, not knowing at the time you were sensei's son, but the council stopped me. You see, my girlfriend is infertile, so we were going to raise you as our son. We had planned on raising both of you, sensei's child and the child he had chosen to be the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi. But you're the same person. Rin was so depressed that she got permission to leave the village. She left in the middle of the night without me. The council not giving me leave was the sole reason I didn't chase after her. I guess she left me so that she wouldn't have to experience the loss of another part of her life. The selfish bitch forgot that she wasn't the only one to have lost a lot in a short time. Will you ever forgive her? Kakashi looked at the boy in front of him, single black eye meeting two blue pools, and sighed. I have never hated her. She was selfish, but that is only human. It is also a human trait to be able to forgive, and I forgive her. Besides, she may return if I send a letter her way telling her about this. I would so like to see her again. There was a silence, broken by the Hokage. Kakashi. Kakashi stopped him with a raised hand. I don't care for your excuses, it's over, let's move on with our lives. Hey Naruto. Yes. Would you like to move in with me? The Hitaki family may have fallen out of the village's nobility, as of late, but my house is big enough for us. Kakashi's answer was a resounding yes. The Hokage smirked. Actually, if you had read past finding out about who Naruto's parents are, you'd see that Minota left him the Namikaze estate. You two can live there, it has more than enough space. Just how big is the house? The Sandaime cuckolded. When Minota said, house, Naruto, he meant mansion. But you'll get to see it after the exam ends. There's still 20 minutes till the round starts. You may want to go get something to eat, Naruto ni. The forgotten Gamakichi, who had never left Naruto's shoulders, said. Shall we go surprise my living relatives? Naruto asked, mischievous fox grin spreading across his face. Gaara and Naruto stared at each other, arms crossed, as they had for the last 5 minutes since the ref had started the match, not say they had only stood there. The spectators were amazed by what these two could without uncrossing their arms. Gaara's ability to manipulate sand allowing him to attack without moving his arms to perform seals, and his ultimate defense allowing him the same. Luxury. Naruto's bloodline allowing to attack without seals, and a mixture of Kage Bunshin and Kawarmi allowed him to dodge attacks. Naruto sighed as another wave of his Kage Bunshins were wiped out, the explosions of the few that had passed the dessert coffin Gaara sent at them blocked by the redhead's sand wall. We aren't getting anywhere like this, the blonde said, stating the obvious. So, shall I show you a facet of my father's bloodline? Everyone's attention snapped to the whiskered boy, all curious as to what the boy's other ability was. Though Gaara's crazed smile flashed, it was quickly retained, for now. Facet? Naruto smirked. Yes, a facet. I am nowhere close to fully mastering it, And even if I was, I think he'll be enough for you, at moment. Naruto closed his eyes as blue chakra burst from him. All the women in the audience, from 10-year-olds to those in their mid-30s, felt an odd sensation of arousal and desire shoot through them. Naruto's entire posture changed slightly. Before he had seemed uptight, now seemed loose. Uncrossing his arms, he slipped his wrapped hands into his pockets. A different type of smirk, Gaara couldn't word the difference, replaced his old one. The bright blonde hair darkened several shades as Naruto grew a little. Naruto bounced his head, as if to a beat only he heard. "Hello, Subaku Gaara," Naruto said, opening his eyes. Anyone who could see his eyes gasped. They were the most beautiful shade of violet anyone had ever seen. Yet another shorty. I need to work on length, anyway. Nikuyoku, lust, has made his appearance into the world, and he's goin' to enjoy it. Please tell me if I misspelled something obvious. And if you think the 10-year-old's a bit messed up, remember that Naruto is only 12 himself. Laters. Return to top the sins of lust and pride. Last time. Hello, Subaku Gaara, Naruto said, opening his eyes. Anyone who could see his eyes gasped. They were the most beautiful shade of violet anyone had ever seen. Now, who are you? Gaara asked, the surprise he felt easily hidden. Naruto smiled. My title is Nikuyoku, job. Seducer of the Seven, and my name is no concern of yours. Jinchuriki of Ichibi Shukaku of the Sand, Subaku Gaara. Nice to meet you, I'll be your opponent for the time. Still bobbing his head he looked around, paying little to no heed to Gaara's shocked expression. Damn, that's fun, he said as he saw the faces of the women in the crowd. For the next minute, the female population felt the feelings spike all over the place, up and down. After a bit he mumbled something that sounded like, oh fine, ruin my fun, and the female population felt the sensation recede as a violet aura, the same shade as his eyes, condensed around Nikuyoku. I am the sin of lust. Toning down my aura will take a bit of getting used to. I've been blasting it all month after all. Nikuyoku muttered to himself as he slid into a loose stance. Shall we, Gaara? Nikuyoku, was it? Could please explain what just happened? Nikuyoku raised an eyebrow at the ref, and then chuckled. Sliding back out of his stance, he scratched the back of his head. Right, you guys don't know about the effects of the Shichigakido. When Naruto said, facet, he meant facet. Shichigakido has 7 main effects, and I am one of those 7. I am the carnation of Naruto's lust. Through the seal-less jutsu, Mihiraku, one of us, of his choosing, can take control of the body for a time. By the use of Mihiraku. Nikuyoku, he chose me to take control. The main reason for his change is that we have more advanced knowledge of how to correctly use our individual powers and abilities. Smirking, Nikuyoku fell back into his loose stance. The non-virgin men in the crowd recognized that smirk. It was the smirk of a man confident in his sexuality. Shall we, Gaara? Despite my combat ability, my true skills lay elsewhere. At that he winked up at the females of the Rookie 9. So I'd like to finish this quickly, so that I may have some fun. With that, Lust incarnate charged the Sandman, left hand raised in a spear hand thrust. Gaara smirked as the sand wall came up, obscuring his view of the blonde, but he did not panic at the lost visual of his opponent that called himself after a sin. The smirk on Nikuyoku's face changed. It became sadistic. Yubasaki. Shokushi Yari. Gaara's eyes widened as a long black nail penetrated his shield, barely missing his head. Gaara ducked as the nail went sideways, trying to remove his head from his neck. After that the nail retracted, looking through the hole in his shield. Gaara saw it was indeed one of Nikuyoku's fingernails, as it shortened back to a slightly longer than normal for a mon's nail length. What was that? Always the cool one. Gaara didn't show any of his surprise on his face. That was my special ability. I can extend the length of my nails to a length directly equivalent to the amount of chakra I use in the technique. How did it penetrate the shield? My nails are what can be called an ultimate spear. They can cut through anything if I pump enough chakra into them. I believe those in the stands would relate it to a high-level futon jutsu. We, the Sins, are essentially different people from Naruto, so we can't use all the different types of element jutsu like he can. I'm a wind type. Holding his right hand in front of his face at eye level, he slightly lengthened his index finger. Better watch my hands, Gaara. They're my only real attack at the moment. Nikuyoku's sing-song voice warned. There was a tense silence as everyone waited with bated breath for the next move. Suddenly Gaara's shield jumped up, but the sand manipulator fell to his knees anyway. There was a black nail in the left side of his gut, following the nail to its other end. The audience saw that Nikuyoku's left index finger was the one impaling Gaara. Baka, I said watch my hand as in plural, not just the one I was broadcasting with. Nikuyoku mocked, lowering his right hand. Gaara just grinned an even more crazed smile than when he had fought Sasuke. Gaara wrapped himself in a sand cocoon. Nikuyoku frowned. That could be troublesome. Be careful, Nikuyoku, he's summoning Shukaku. Why, Kyuheim, I didn't know you cared. Nikuyoku sang in his head. There was a snort. She's right, Nikuyoku, be careful, glad to know you care enough to bother talking, Tada. Nikuyoku, I swear if you die, I'll kill you. I have things I want in this world. Danyoku, you're the sin of greed. Wanting is something you excel in. Oh, shut up. Did you guys feel that? Who the hell tried a genjutsu on us? Looking around, Nikuyoku was surprised that the entire stadium was fighting. Shit. Orochimaru's made his move. Looking at some of the enemy nin, Nikuyoku growled. Damn it. Suna's sided with the snake. That means, fixing his violet eyes on the sand cocoon, Nikuyoku made a gun with right hand, aiming his index at where he believed Gaara to be in the cocoon. This is a death match. Nikuyoku finished as he launched his attack. Yubasaki. Shokushi Yari. The nail went right through the cocoon, feeling it sink into flesh. He tugged it to the side. As the nail retracted, the cocoon protecting Gaara fell away, revealing Gaara with half his body replaced by sand-made raccoon-like parts. Roaring Gaara glared at Naruto with Shukaku's star eye, all calm gone from his features, droll drizzling from his mouth. Come on. Naruto Uzumaki. Show me your other facets. You told me yourself this isn't your strongest form. Show me what is. Gaara screamed in bloodlust, totally ignoring the war around them. Was he always this insane, Kyuheim? No, that disgrace of a seal they used must be driving him insane. Gigi's busy fighting the Habiteme. The Junin are busy protecting the audience that couldn't break the sleep genjutsu. The Anbu are dealing with the summons, and the rest of our group is purely defending themselves. We're on our own with Gaara, Tada said. Who wants this fight? I'm almost out of my chakra supply. I'll do it. Nikuyoku's eyes widened a little in surprise. Sure thing, he's all yours. Nikuyoku said. Closing his eyes, Nikuyoku muttered. Mahiraku. When those eyes opened, they were midnight black with a white pupil. The looseness that Nikuyoku had disappeared. Replaced by a stern rigidness, his hair lengthened to his shoulders, which he pulled into a neat ponytail. Hey! What's this? Who are you now? Shukaku, Gaara roared as he saw the eyes. I'm Kumon, sin of pride, and I am the politician of the seven. Tada looked bored as he sidestepped a sand missile shot at him. Kumon eyed the sand demon before him, listening to Tada's voice in his head tell him the strategy. Fully release Shukaku, Gaara. You won't be beating me at that level of power. It wasn't a taunt, merely a bored statement of fact. Gaara's eye widened, before the sadistic grin once more dominated his face. Suddenly there was a large explosion of sand and chakra. Shukaku stood in his full glory in the center of the stadium. Gaara was buried in the giant raccoon's forehead up to his waist. Doing some hand seals, Gaara called out, fake sleep. 1. Jutsu. And gave complete control to Shukaku. Hello, Kumon. Shukaku roared as he came into consciousness. Kumon simply sidestepped the human-sized drops of saliva that flew from the demon's mouth when he spoke. You're disgusting. Shukaku. What happened to your pride as a biju? Kumon drawled. Shukaku roared, sending large bursts of air at Kumon, which saw coming, and avoided easily. Biting his thumb, Kumon did some hand seals, and slammed his palms into the ground. Kachiyose no jutsu. As the large plume of smoke dispersed, Kumon was seen standing atop the head of Gamabunta. Kakashi, who had stayed with the rookies to help them survive, smiled under his face mask. He really does look like Sensei when he stands on Gamabunta's head, even if that is one of his personas. Gamabunta eyed the boy standing on top of his head. Hello. Kumon. Who's the raccoon? Gamabunta greeted, after seeing the eyes and figuring out which, Naruto, had summoned him. Kumon snorted. Do you honestly expect me to believe you do not remember the feel of the bijus, even an insane one's, chakra feel? Kyuubi Haim may have a much vaster supply, but the basic feel of the 9 demon lords' chakra is quite distinct. Gamabunta shook in quite amusement. This is one sin he could get along with. Ah, it's comin' back to me now. Shukaku of the sand, right? Gamabunta pulled out his sword. Shall we, you crazy raccoon? Shukaku just roared as he charged them. Another shorty. 1. Can anyone tell me what that is in Japanese? Mahiraku to open one's eyes. Yubasaki. Shokushi Yari index finger, fingertip spear. Baka stupid, idiot hubby snake teme bastard kachiyose no jutsu summoning technique. Gamabunta toad boss return of the dead last time. Shall we, you crazy raccoon? Shukaku just roared as he charged them. Now. Kakashi was thankful that the stadium had been cleared of civilians. The fight between the two boss-size creatures had quickly destroyed half of the stadium so that their massive forms could move more freely. The Cycloptic Ninja looked at the Rookie 9 and Guy's team sadly. I wish they could have had more time before their first kill. They may seem fine now, but the Rookie 9 group will feel the effects of having taken human life when this is over. At least Guy's team will be a bit better off. They were prepared to kill since they heard they were to be in the Chunin exams, but still, the Scarecrow thought as he killed the last Suna Nin in the area, running a kunai through his head. Kakashi turned to the group that was huddled together for protection. Come on, Kakashi was cut off as by a Suna Junin jumping him from behind. Damn, I couldn't detect her because of all the killer. Intent flying around, spinning around with a kunai to pierce the woman Nin's heart, Kakashi was surprised as the Nin dropped to the ground, 2 shurikens sticking from the back of her neck. Following the path the shuriken had come from, Kakashi's heart stopped. Her eyes closed as she gave him a nervous smile. Hi, Kakashi. I got lost on the road of life? A few years ago, Kakashi would have laughed at the woman's attempt to use his favorite excuse for being late. Hitaki Kakashi, second youngest Anbu captain in Kanaho's history, student of the Yondaime Hokage, genius prodigy of the Hitaki clan, son of the White Wolf, feared copy nin, Kakashi of the Sharingan Eye, user of 1,000 jutsu, could only mutter a single name. Rin-chan. Sarutobi panted as he and his former student jumped away from each other to catch their breaths. Is the Ichibi the reason you chose Suna for this, Orochimaru? The Sandame questioned the hubby. Sennin, eyeing the fight happening in the stadium. The snake shrugged. That and they were the easiest to convince, other than Iwa. But they'd be a bit too obvious. The snake said, beginning a long seal set. The name that Orochimaru called scared Sarutobi. Kachiyose. Edo Tensai. 3 purple vortexes appeared on the ground, a coffin marked with a kanji for 1, 2, and 4 slowly rising from them. Hurriedly, Sarutobi rushed through a seal set. If Minota-kun is revived, we are all dead. Rin hadn't changed much. Her brown hair still hung near her shoulders, her brown eyes still reflected kindness and a deep sorrow, and the 2 red rectangles that marked her adoption by the Inuzuka clan were the same. She had grown taller, reaching just under Kakashi's chin. She wore simple civilian clothes, tight-fitting blue jeans and a brown tank top, with a kunai pouch strapped to her upper right leg. If it weren't for the fact she was covered in blood, she would have looked innocent. Shizune stepped out from behind Rin. You two can get reacquainted. After the battle is over. Kakashi's single visible eye darted to the darker-haired girl wearing a simple yukata and fishnet undershirt. You're here too, Shizune? Hi, Jiraiya sent Tsunade some angering information that sent her after Orochimaru's head. We ran into Rin-chan here halfway. Apparently Jiraiya also sent her some news, though she didn't tell us what it is. Rin looked up at the figure standing on Gamabunta's head. That's him, isn't he? Kakashi nodded. Hi, that is Sensei's kid up there. The full meaning behind that statement was lost by most of the rookies that had listened in. Most of them didn't know who had been Kakashi's teacher, but one did. Sakura, who hadn't found the information Kakashi had given his team when they met quite enough, had looked up, copy N in Kakashi. He had several important things under his belt, prodigy, ex-Anbu, last of the Hitakis, etc. But one of his more important ones was the name of the man who had taught him, and the title he had held in life. At first Sakura hadn't recognized the name, though, Namikaze Minota, which meant, wave wind, which is also a synonym for discord, chaos, harbor, had sounded quite intimidating alone. It sounded awe-inspiring when she had found out that she could put the Yondaime Hokage at the end of his name. Naruto, she whispered to herself, something more than what she had meant to put into whisper showing in her voice, only the two Hyuga picked her quite whisper up. The pale-eyed girl looked over to the emerald-eyed girl. What? Was that in her V voice? Hinata stuttered in her mind. Please don't let Sakura-san be growing F-feelings for Naruto-kun. He has a C-crush on her already. I won't have a chance at him, her pale eyes said at that thought. I have to hurry before I lose my chance. Neji smirked a little at his younger cousin as the confidence she had scrounged up during their match returned to her face. No, it wasn't the same confidence. This was her desire to beat the Haruno to the man she was crushing on, not the desire to prove she could beat him. Sarutobi sighed in relief as the coffin marked 4 fell to the ground, not having opened. I may have stopped Minota-kun, but now I have to fight the first, second and Orochimaru. Tough doesn't cover this. So, you managed to stop Minota's return from the dead, but you still must fight two former Hokages. Orochimaru grinned as he pulled out the kunai with the seal tags needed to both control the zombies and return them to their full power. As the kunais sunk in the zombies' skulls, returning them to their true glory, the four's attention was grabbed by a rattling noise. All eyes snapped to the coffin marked 4 feet, and widened as a zombie-like hand pushed the lid off. Standing up, the zombie-like Minota stared at those around him with hard blue eyes. What the fuck? Aren't I dead? Minota asked, scratching the back of his neck, causing the 2 living and the 2 dead men in the area to sweat drop. The blonde pointed a finger at the Shodem and Naidame. And I know you 2 are dead. The hand that had pointed at the 2 deceased Hokages scratched his chin. He turned his gaze to the fight between Shukaku and Kumon. Sarutobi, why is my son fighting the Ichibi? Minota's tone spoke of retribution. Kushina's going to kill you, Gigi, for letting her son fight a tailed beast, even if it's merely the Ichibi. Even in this situation, Sarutobi shuddered at the thought of the woman's wrath. She could have given Ibiki a run for his position if she'd wanted it. Gigi, what the hell is going on around here? Why are 3 dead? Peo. Minota was cut off as Orochimaru sped behind him, jamming a 3rd kunai into his head. The yellow flash just gave the snake Sennin a bored look as he changed back into his former glory. Reaching behind his head, lightning-like chakra danced between his hand and the back of his head, a slip of paper appearing between the 2 before it disintegrated. I don't know what the hell's going on, but from looking around I guess some shit's happened since I gave myself to the Shinigami. He raised an eyebrow at the Orochimaru's shocked expression. What? I'm a seal master, you fucktard. Disappearing in a yellow flash, Minota reappeared behind the other 2 cages. He ripped the kunais out of their skulls. Return to the grave, brothers of the Hokage title. The 2 smiled as they crumpled away into dust, momentarily appearing as the 2 male sound genin that had been sacrificed for their rebirth. A shame that the sacrifices cannot regain their lives. With another yellow flash, the Yondaime Hokage rested in a stance beside the Sandaime Hokage. I never did like you, Snakeface. Orochimaru was cocky, make no mistake, but he was not dumb enough to take on the 2 in front of him at once. Dissolve the barrier, we're retreating. Following his order, the Sound 4 broke formation, grabbed the snake, and hightailed it out of there. Minota grinned at Sarutobi. I need to regain my chakra capacity. Being dead lowered it substantially, was all he said, right before he fell, panting, to his knees. Sarutobi grinned, casting genjutsu to change Minota's appearance before the Anbu rushing over saw the man. It seems your plan failed, horribly, Orochimaru. Who is this man? Hokage-sama, asked one of the Anbu that kneeled before the reinstated Hokage. Just a friend, Anbu-san, just a friend. Now, Minota, under the guise of have black hair and being shorter than he truly was, said as stood up. I need to help Naruto. With that, the man under genjutsu ran off towards the fight between the 2 Jinchuriki. Kumon growled as he performed the only fire jutsu any of them knew, spitting the fire into the steam of oil Gamabunta spurted at Shukaku, causing a much larger and stronger flame to hit the demon lord. Shukaku jumped over it, but the Biju's exhaustion didn't let it get away in time. Its left leg heavily burned by the fire stream, the rest of it set fire to the air behind the sand demon. Jump. Even when he was near to empty on his chakra reserves, Kumon's voice still rung proud and demanding, no slouch contaminating his rigid posture. Gamabunta didn't argue the order. He had learned during the fight of Kumon's future seeing eye, and jumped several stories up. The air blast Shukaku had tried to decapitate them with destroying another portion of the stadium. Thank God for those eyes of his, or rather thank the devil, Gamabunta thought, chuckling a little at his bad joke. Water bullets. The frog boss inhaled deeply, exhaling a few building-size water blasts. The wind bullets and the air bullets met halfway between the two massive forms, causing a likeness of heavy rain, which conveniently put out the fire the duo's last attack had caused. Minimum damage to surrounding are, Kumon? The massive frog's eyes widened as he saw one of the air bullets was still coming at him, too late to block, and being in midair he couldn't dodge. The boss-level summon had one thought. Damn, this is going to hurt. He was proved correct as the blast hit him square on the chest. Kumon didn't bat an eye as he and his summon fell to the ground, causing a small tremor. Damn it, normally I love being right, Gamabunta winced. Damn. I'm out of my share of chakra. Another time, Gamabunta, it has been fun fighting beside you. With that, and never losing his calm, Kumon's black eye returned to Naruto's normal blue. Shit. Gamabunta roared, disappearing as the chakra of his summoner disappeared, which caused his forced return to the summon's world. Ow, Naruto groaned, falling several stories into solid ground hurt like a bitch. Shukaku grinned, preparing to stomp on the blonde Jinchuriki. Yo. Finally a semi-long, for me anyway, chapter. And it ended with a cliffy. Ha, I brought back Arashi. And just so you know, he's not overpowered, yet. His chakra capacity is only around a low Junin. Which is nothing to his old capacity, but he'll be getting back to that level. Just so you all know, all my prior polls are open until they affect the story. Please, if you give me votes for the harem, please, give me a few reasons for the girls you suggest. Laters. Minotaur's a god mode cheat and death's deal. Last time. Ow, Naruto groaned, falling several stories into solid ground hurt like a bitch. Shukaku grinned, preparing to stomp on the blonde Jinchuriki. Now. The Tanuki's eyes widened as a yellow flash approached him, stopping next to Naruto. Whoever it was dropped the genjutsu on him to reveal an older and much more intense version of the blonde Jinchuriki. Bending over, the Yondaime picked up a odd three-pronged kunai at his feet. Hello, Ichibi. The blonde greeted, twirling the kunai on his pinky. Who the hell are you? The sand demon roared down at the human. Do you honestly think you scare me, Ichibi? A cocky grin was prominent on the Hokage's face. But to answer your question, I'm Namikaze Minota, the Yellow Flash, the Yondaime Hokage, and the man that sealed away the Kyuubi. Shukaku's eyes widened as he stepped back from the blonde in more fear than the weakest of the demon lords had ever felt for a human. Don't worry, I don't have enough chakra to really fuck you up, but I do have enough for one more Hiraishin. Minota trailed off, throwing the kunai up at Gaara. Shukaku sighed in, false, relief as a sand wall blocked the kunai and the kunai dropped to the top of Shukaku's head. Minota's cocky grin only grew as he disappeared in a yellow flash. Appearing on Shukaku's head, Minota gave Gaara a hard right hook to the face. Wake the fuck up, you damned Gaki. Shukaku roared a final time as Gaara's consciousness pulled him back into the seal. Minota grunted as he landed from his several-story fall with much less grace than he normally could have, but still unharmed. Gaara, on the other hand, fell straight on his back. The only reason he survived was thanks to his automatic sand defense breaking his fall. From where they stood on the other side of the stadium, Kakashi's group stared in shock as some guy took out the demon lord in one hit. Shizune, Rin, and Kakashi in an even deeper shock than the genin. They recognized who the older blonde was. How? Sensei. And Minota-sama? Were the only thoughts running through their heads? Tamari and Konkura jumped down beside their little brother. How are you so strong? Gaara wheezed as his sibling helped him up. Minota smiled tightly at the boy. You're still conscious after having your demon forced back into you. That's some force of will you got. Tsunegaki. The reason I'm strong is that I don't fight simply for myself. I fight for the friends and family I care for. I'm not alone. He looked at Gaara's siblings. And neither are you. Minota nodded to the sand sibling, gesturing for them to leave. Go on, I won't chase after. They nodded gratefully, leaping off with Gaara draped over their shoulders. Baki growled as he received news of the Casecage's assassination, clearly done by their ally, Orochimaru, because of the lack of his face. Quickly assessing the situation. Their forces depleted, Gaara defeated, Sound already retreated, he ordered the retreat. The Genin and Junin ran over to the two blondes, the Junins looking at Minota in shock. Minota sat cross-legged next to his son's unconscious form, looking him over approvingly. He looked up as he heard the group approach him. This year's Chunin wannabes, hey? Minota thought as he eyed the group with his ice-blue eyes. He snickered at the sight of his surviving Genin cell. I guess I can't really call them Gakis anymore, but I will anyway. Hello. Shizune-san. Kakashi Gaki, Rin Gaki, Genin Gakis. What's up? Minota greeted, acting like it was an everyday thing to beat the one-tailed demon lord and to sit in the middle of a war zone. Some of the Genin, Sasuke Nejikov, scoffed at being called brats. The rest looked shocked at the blonde's informal greeting of the high-ranking ninjas. Minota just smirked. While the other Junin seemed unsure of what to do, Kakashi lowered his Hittite over his Sharingan eye, and regained his lazy countenance. Yo, sensei. Minota snorted. I've been dead for almost 13 years, and all you do to greet me is say, yo. Before anyone could respond, Jiraiya jumped down a few feet away from Minota. He tried the Edo Tensei on you. Minota grinned savagely. Yeah, the fucktard forgot who he was fucking with. I'm Namikaze Minota, youngest seal master in known history. I destroyed the mind control aspect of the jutsu, and I live again, though I seriously doubt that the Shinigami will let me go so easily. Minota shrugged. Obviously not afraid to return to the dead should the Shinigami come to reclaim his soul. Tsunade also leapt down, looking at the fourth in only minor shock. Why am I not surprised? If anyone could manage to come back from the dead, it would have to be you. Minota grinned. Damn straight, Bachan, damn straight. A faraway look crossed his face. I just wish I could have brought Kushina with me. He gave a dejected sigh, and bowed high head. The two Sennin also looked down with sad expressions. After a minute Minota rose his head, a much happier expression on his face. I can't go getting depressed. Kushina will have my head when I return to her side if I do. The Sennin laughed. She would indeed. Jiraiya smiled. That was one hell of a woman you fell in love with, Minota. Minota blinked at Tsunade, looking at her like he just noticed she was there. Hold on. Why are you here, Tsunade? I thought you hated Konoha? Tsunade lost her nostalgic smile, which was replaced a very angry look. It turns out I have more reason than I thought to hate Orochimaru. He was behind Dan's death. He had supplied the enemy with a poison he had recently concocted, which I at the time could not heal. Minota growled. I'll be killing him, painfully, very painfully. Just when the shocked beyond all reason Genin thought they couldn't be any more odd, a large midnight vortex opened. Stepping out of it was a story-high, pale demon. Removing the large knife from his mouth, the demon spoke. Hello, Minota. Remember me? His voice was deep, full of a power no human could ever hope to achieve. Minota snorted. No shit, I remember you. Who could forget your ugly mug, Shinigami? Even Jiraiya, Tsunade and Sarutobi, who had just arrived, who knew Minota's attitude, were shocked he would talk to death itself in such a manner. The Shinigami smirked, a rather frightening sight to behold as it revealed rows of sinisterly sharp teeth. Even death has not changed that attitude of yours, Namikaze. If I let a little something like death affect me, then I wouldn't be the god I am. Minota snickered. I suppose you came to get me to go back to hell? The death god's smirk broadened. Actually, not necessarily. I have a deal for you, interested? Making a deal with death itself? Minota shrugged, like they were talking about something insignificant like the weather. Sure. Just another thing I can add to my extensive resume. Let's hear it. Pale man. The Sandame and two Sennin sighed. Minota wouldn't show respect even to death itself. There are 3 people I want you to kill and give to me in exchange for your soul. Orochimaru of the Sound Village, Hidan of the Akatsuki, and Kakuzu of the Akatsuki. All 3 are guilty of cheating death, of cheating me. If within the next 4 years a Leaf Nin, not necessarily you, kills these 3, I shall let you remain alive, if not then you die in precisely 4 years from this second. Minota grinned. The answer should be damn obvious, I accept. The Shinigami nodded, stepping back into the portal. See you in 4 years, Namikaze Minota. Minota gave a lazy wave. Later, O Pale One. As everyone just stared at Minota in shock, the blonde's center of attention was caught by his son groaning. Note to self. Do not fall of Gamabunta again, Naruto groaned, pushing himself up. Naruto plopped back down into a sitting position. Oh, hi guys, he said as he spied the genins, who looked at him oddly. When they noticed his wound were healing themselves, sickening crunch telling them he had broken an arm in his fall, but even that was within his natural healing capabilities. Shizune-san, Kakashi-sensei, Ero-senin, Tsunade-san, lady I have never met, dude that looks like me, are we related? Naruto greeted the others, pausing on Minota. Minota grinned mischievously at his son. Damn straight we're related, you may call me Two-san. Kyuubi and the Sins counted down in Naruto's mind. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nani? Naruto yelled, fainting from using so much energy after such a fight. Minota scratched the back of his head. Oops. Yo. Sorry for the weight and shortness, school is a bitch, well, R&R. Waking up, meeting Tucson, and planning last time. Nani? Naruto yelled, fainting from using so much energy after such a fight. Minota scratched the back of his head. Oops. Now. Sometime later, Naruto opened his bleary eyes to stare at an unfamiliar ceiling and lying in an unfamiliar, though comfy, queen-size bed. Looking around, the blonde Jinchuriki took in the unornate room. His bed lay in one corner of the room. A small nightstand was next to his bed that had his Hittite on it. A desk was directly in the corner to his right. The other corner was empty with a window showing what looked to be midday sunlight. Where the hell am I? Naruto thought, pushing the covers off him and flinging his legs over the edge of the bed as he sat up. 'Cause it sure as hell ain't the hospital. Probably your room in the Namikaze estate. Naruto nodded, Kyuheim's suggestion making sense. That would make the most sense. Standing up, Naruto began to stretch, his muscles stiff. Who changed my clothes? The blonde was solely in orange silk pajama bottoms. And how long have I been out? The question just kept coming, until his stomach growled, which presented a question and brought Baoshoku's voice into his head. Where's the kitchen? Not in the bedroom, that's for sure, Shido muttered. No, really? I had no idea. Naruto retorted, rolling his eyes at his slightly emo personality. Naruto picked up his Hittite and wrapped it around his right bicep. He opened the door. Closing the door to his room, the young Jinchuriki looked around. The hardwood floors seemed to be the mode for the house, as the polished surface from his room continued out into the rest of the house. He stood on the catwalk around an open view of the bottom floor. Looking up, Naruto saw the ceiling, so he was on the second floor of the two-story building called the Namikaze Estate House. Doors lined the walls every couple dozen feet, one clearly the door to the master bedroom. On the side directly opposite the doors for the master bedroom was a spread staircase leading to the floor below. Naruto grinned, grabbing the railing, he leapt over it. He landed with a light thud on the ground. Looking around, he saw that he had been wrong. The wood floor was the mode for upstairs. The greeting area was done in a finely polished marble. Food that way. Baoshoku rejoiced in his head. Naruto relaxed his body, allowing the sin of endless hunger to guide him to the food. He needn't go so far as to use Mihiraku to allow the glutton that much control. Baoshoku's natural ability to find food led him through one of the side doors, which put him in the empty formal-looking dining room. Must be where formal meeting and such are held. Going through the door at the other end of the formal dining room, he walked into a much more relaxed-looking eating area that was separated from a large kitchen only by a counter. Much better, I'd go nuts if I had to eat dinner in that stuffy formal dining room every day. Naruto snickered, not realizing he had spoken out loud until a voice responded from behind him. My thoughts exactly, Naruto. The aforementioned blonde spun to face what could be one of his Kage Bunshin put through a time-speeding up jutsu and wearing the standard-issue Junin uniform with a white haori with fire licking the bottom and the kanji for fire written on the back in red. Minota leaned against the doorframe as he observed his son. We're starting to wonder if you'd wake the hell up, Gaki, you were out for a week. Naruto's eyes widened in surprise. A whole week? Normally I only need 1 or 2 days, who the hell are you anyway? Minota sighed dramatically. Are you retarded? I already answered that question, Sochi. Naruto froze in place as he remembered the last few seconds of consciousness he had before he fainted. TTT to San. Minota smiled a happy grin the rest of the rookie Q would relate to Naruto's real smile. You have no idea how good it feels to be called that. Oh sure. Kakashi and Rin both took to calling me father, but it's a totally different thing to hear from your blood son, he trailed of, noticing Naruto's trembling and bowed head. What? The older blonde asked, squatting down to be at eye level with his son, though it made no difference in eye contact because Naruto's own blonde hair covered his eyes, not happy to see Yo. He was cut off as Naruto tackled him, crying into his chest. To-san, Minota smiled lightly, patting his son's spiky blonde hair he had inherited from himself. It's okay to cry, Sochi, cry and let the pain be washed away, Minota whispered. I'm here now and I'm not leaving anytime soon. Naruto looked up his father, overjoyed cerulean meeting calm ice blue. Did KK Ka-san. Minota shook his head. No, but I believe I know a way. There's an unconfirmed rumor of another Akatsuki member that I might appease the Shinigami with. Naruto's eyes widened both in surprise and confusion. The Shinigami? Akatsuki. The yellow flash chuckled. Come, I need to fill you in. Minota, under a genjutsu making him look like a nondescript ninja. Short with dark blue hair and brown eyes and the standard Chunin uniform. And Naruto, after putting on some civilian clothes, a white wife beater khaki pants and normal shoes, ran across the rooftops towards the Hokage tower. To-san? Naruto asked as they leapt from rooftop to rooftop. Yeah, Sochi? Why put yourself under a genjutsu? The village would welcome you back gratefully. Minota sighed. Naruto, don't you think they would demand that we use our enemies to bring back their lovers, as we're going to kill them anyway? But the method for the Edo Tensei is more torture than it is killing, and the Shinigami would simply come and reclaim them. I can't go on a tirade on how the dead should stay dead, as that would make me a fucking hypocrite. So, I'm going to restart my ninja career, under the name, Futame Urashi. Naruto nodded. I guess that makes sense. Now what was that, Akatsuki, you mentioned earlier? Wait, till we get to my old office. Naruto huffed. Fine. Minota grinned as he eyed the Hokage monument. So, I hear you got my prankster genes, painting the Hokage monument? Naruto smiled, his mood doing a 180. Yeah, with that as the topic starter, they spoke of pranking methods the rest of the way too. Sarutobi's office. Tsunade's eye twitched. She and Shizune had been waiting in the Hokages since Minota had sent her a note via Gamakichi that Naruto was awake and he was bringing him to the old Mont's office to talk. She had come early so she could talk to Minota and his brat, but she had forgotten the perverted tendencies of her former sensei and former teammate. Would you put those away? She yelled, not leaving room for argument. Sighing, the two aged perverts put away their orange-covered porno, the personal work of the self-dubbed, super pervert, Jiraiya. You still read that trash, Gigi? And you still write it, Ero-sensei? Minota questioned the old pervs as he opened the door, and he and Naruto stepping into his old office. Hey! He greeted Tsunade as he dropped the genjutsu. Jiraiya glared at his former student. Not all of us can walk up to a woman, say, let's fuck, and not only not get slapped but actually get laid, Minota. That trait is yours alone. Sarutobi looked at the clock hanging over one of his bookshelves, ignoring Jiraiya as he went on a rant about how unfair it was that Minota could have such ease with getting laid. You're exactly 20 seconds early, as always, Minota. The newly dubbed Futame Urashi stuck his tongue at the reinstated Hokage. Yep, and I predict Kakashi and Rin should be here in 3, 2, 1. When he said 1, Kakashi and Rin poofed into existence right behind him. Kakashi fixing his face mask and both smoothing out their clothes. The yellow flash smirked. Catching up, were you? Minota's smirk broadened at Naruto's shocked look. Nani? You're here on time. Who are you and did you do too? Kakashi-sensei. Naruto yelled, looking at Kakashi like he was an alien. Minota snickered. He won't dare be late to something I order him to. I have black mail that would make his life a living hell. Minota reached into his right pocket and pulled out a sealed envelope. These, the blonde waved the envelope around, causing his silver-haired student to sweat, are pictures of Kakashi, without his damn mask. Naruto gaped. How'd you get those? Me and my team spent a whole day trying to get that mask off him. The second oldest blonde, Tsunade being the oldest, in the room, laughed heartily as he pocketed the envelope. That's the difference between 3 genin and a Hokage. As for how I did it, that's a secret. At this point Rin broke in. You wanted to talk to us, sensei. Minota nodded, his expression returning to its serious self. Yes. As you all know, I filled Naruto in on the way here. The Shinigami made me a deal. Kill Orochimaru of the Sound Village, Hidan of the Akatsuki, and Kakuzu of the Akatsuki within the next 4 years, and he'll allow me to remain alive. The catch being they have to be Leaf's nin that kills them. Jiraiya? The long-haired ninja pushed himself off the wall he had been leaning on. Right. My information network has turned up some information on the last 2, as well as some new intel on Orochimaru and another person that we'll get to later. First, Hidan. Hidan is a follower of Jashin, an occult religion that allows him some form of immortality, no other information. Kakuzu, Hidan's partner and apparently another with some form of immortality jutsu, no other information. Orochimaru. We already know more than we really want to, and then there is Sasori. Apparently he is yet another Akatsuki with a immortality jutsu of some kind. No other info is known. We, Minota, and I, believe we might be able to pull another deal with the Shinigami if we kill this Sasori. Room was silent, everyone thinking over what Jiraiya had said. Ask them what Akatsuki is, Baka. Naruto nodded, not arguing with Tada. What the hell is Akatsuki? They are a group of S-class nuke nin. Their objective is unknown, but it somehow includes the capture of the 9 demon lords. Which would mean they'd be coming for you as you are Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. Jiraiya answered. All we know about the group includes what we told you, that it has 9 members, and Orochimaru defected from the group. With that, the room went silent again. Let me speak to them. Naruto blinked as Tada's lazy voice floated through his mind. Ignoring the odd looks he got from such abrupt out-of-place move, Naruto sat down in one of Sarutobi's more comfortable chair. Mahiraku. Tada. Naruto muttered, closing his eyes and letting his body slouch. When he opened his eyes again, the room was staring into sharp, though lazy, intelligent blue eyes with horizontal slit pupils. Hello. Name's Tada. He greeted, his voice dripping a laziness that shamed even Shikamaru, the strategist of the 7. The impossibly sharp eyes traveled over each of them, giving a wry smile when he met the lazy eye of Kakashi. I like you, you're lazy, that was all he said, and there was silence as they waited for the Sin to speak. You're an old bag, aren't you? Tada deadpanned at Tsunade, who wasn't even looking at the woman. Everyone in the room gasped, wondering how he had seen through one of the most advanced genjutsu out there with no apparent effort. How? Tsunade stuttered. Tada shrugged, pointing a finger at his eyes. Being lied to is bothersome. These eyes see through physical lies. Or genjutsu. Simply put, genjutsu doesn't work on me. Tada smirked at their shocked looks. Kakashi got through his surprise first. What do you need, Tada-san? As you are the sin of sloth, I doubt you came on a whim. Tada nodded. I came to talk strategy. Gather as much information on those 4 as possible. We need to keep Toussaint alive. He's a good asset, especially with Konoha in this state. He looked around, they nodded their consent. That makes sense. Jiraiya conceded. Tada scratched his chin thoughtfully. You said they were after the demon lords? Yes, we don't know why though. Tada hummed to himself as he planned. We need to really with Suna. That single statement caused everyone, yes even Arashi, to yell. Nani? The lazy Sin nodded. We both need the support of another strong village, and they have a Jinchuriki. Subakugara contains Shukaku, who has been driven insane by the Yondaime Keiskage's shitty seal. Allying with them gains support for the village, and brings a Jinchuriki under guard. I assume you already have a mission to go there to talk about their terms of surrender? Sarutobi nodded. Yes. In 3 days a team and I will be heading to Suna for that purpose. Tada nodded again. Good. Or rather Naruto, will, he accented the last word with enough killer intent to get the point through. Be going with. Also, either Jiraiya or Minota-san must come as well. Why are we needed? Jiraiya asked, though he had a guess. One of you is needed to fix Gaara's seal. Tada answered, proving Jiraiya's guess correct. It seems Sakura-san and Hinata-san wish to speak to you, old bag. They're waiting outside the door. Everyone blinked. So, now you're telling us that, like the Byakugan, you can see through walls? Tada nodded. as well as the 360 view. Both are helpful things for my position as the Seven's strategist. Suddenly Naruto's eyes returned to normal. Let them in, Gigi. Sarutobi nodded. Come in. With that, the two girls walked in, looking extremely nervous under the gazes of some of the Leaf's greatest ninja. Yo. To-san. Father Ka-san. Mother Sochi, son. Futame. For a second time Inja, Hermit returned to top. Two new medic nins last time Sarutobi nodded, come in. With that, the two girls walked in, looking extremely nervous under the gazes of some of the Leaf's greatest ninja. Earlier Sakura was determined. Having witnessed what Sasuke's, hell even Naruto's, progress while she stayed relatively the same, she had resolved to get stronger. So she decided to go get Kakashi-sensei to teach her something, anything. She had no idea what had possessed her, but she had ended up at the foot of the Hokage tower. Hello, Sakura-san. The pink-haired girl jumped, spinning to face the source of the voice. It was Hinata. Oh, hello Hinata-san. Please don't scare me like that again, okay? Sakura greeted the lavender-haired girl as she calmed her still racing heart. Hinata giggled, which surprised the other girl. She must be getting some confidence. Go. Hinata. Sakura smiled slightly, even her inner Sakura was routing for the bashful Hyuga. How are you? Hinata smiled. While still shy, it was a much broader smile than what she usually did. Hi. Father seems to be in a happy mood recently. He hasn't put me down or anything, and Neji has fully healed and seems to be making an attempt to be nicer too. Sakura could tell the positive impact the difference in Hinata's home life was having on her. That's great. That guy with the stick up his ass can feel happy? Oh, shush you. This means a lot to Hinata. Sakura scolded her inner voice. That's great, Hinata-chan. But I meant, are your injuries okay now? Hinata nodded. Hi. I'm fine, but the hospital time made me realize something. I want to be a med nin. They're great, they can heal people and I've always been good at making healing creams so. Sakura grinned. Good, it'll be fun to have a partner to learn with. I also want to be a med nin. I talked to my Ka-san yesterday, she's a retired chunin, and she said med nin would suit me more than being an offense nin. And I've always had good chakra control. Hinata smiled. It would be great to have a friend to learn with. Sakura held out her hand. To being medic nins. Hinata slapped hands with the other girl. To being medic nins. Shizune smiled. She had left the room to escape the perverts a few moments ago, as she spoke from the side of the two girls. You want to be medic nins, do you? The two girls jumped and snapped to attention. Sakura recognized the lady immediately. Hi, Shizune-san. She said, bowing to the selected next Hokage's personal assistant. Shizune blinked. How do you know me? You're the Shizune, who was introduced at the same time. Sandame Sama introduced his selected successor to Hokage, Godem Tsunade. Shizune blinked again. You recognize me from the announcement ceremony? Sakura nodded. You have a pretty good memory. Hi, near photographic. Shizune grinned. If the girl wanted to be a medic, that trait would be damn helpful. And you? Hinata managed to push down her blush. A good memory, but I wouldn't call it photographic. Don't listen to her, Shizune-san. Hinata has a memory as good as mine. The only reason I scored higher than her in the academy was because she was too nervous during the verbal exam. Sakura spoke up for her new friend. These two have potential. How would you two like me to teach you? If you learn everything I teach you, I'll pass you up the chain to Tsunade. 1. The black-haired girls smirked at the excited looks on the younger girls' faces. But first, as I'm still an apprentice myself, I need to go get Tsunade's permission to teach someone. Come with me. With that, Shizune spun on her heel and walked into the Hokage tower. Looking at each other excitedly, they ran to catch up with their possible new teacher. A few minutes later they stood in front of the door to Sarutobi's office. Come in. They, all three, blinked at each other. They hadn't announced themselves yet, so how had he known they were there? Shrugging it off, Shizune opened the door and pushed the two girls whom she was considering training inside. Hinata and Sakura looked around in shock. They had known they had entered the Hokage's office, but they had not expected so many people to be there. The Sandame and Godem Hokages, the Godime's last, loyal, teammate Jiraiya, Kakashi and Rin, both high-ranking Junin, a Chunin, and... Hey, Sakura-chan, Hinata-chan. Naruto grinned at the two girls. Sakura's surprise showed, and Hinata lost the look of confidence she had been trying to keep up to replace it with a furious blush. Tsunade-sensei. Shizune said, bringing the room's attention to herself. I would like permission to give these girls medic nin training. Tsunade blinked. These girls want to be medic nin? She looked to the girls themselves for an answer. They nodded nervously. I don't have a problem with it, but you're going to need their current sensei's permission. Shizune looked at Kakashi. Any problem with you? The silver-haired Junin shook his head. No, I was going to suggest medic nin training, as well as genjutsu, for Sakura anyway. She's suited for medic jutsu and genjutsu, and I'm not good enough to teach either. Kakashi said, smiling his patented eye smile. Shizune smiled. Okay, I'll be right back. Making a quick seal, the medic poofed off. So, medic nins? Naruto smirked, getting up and hugging the two girls. You two will be great. It was a testament to Hinata's new confidence that she didn't faint. Like she normally would have, but she was damn close. Naruto-kun is hugging me, and he said I'd be great, was all her panicked mind could comprehend. Sakura's reaction and mental thoughts were quite different than her friend. When did Naruto catch up to my height? She thought absently. Shaw. Forget that. Feel how toned his muscles are. Naruto-kun is a slab of fucking sculptured marble, and you're thinking about his height? Sakura's own case of extra voices in her head stated. Loudly. Now if it was his little friend's length you were wondering about. Sakura blushed heavily. Shut up. I like Sasuke-kun, not Naruto-kun. Inner Sakura smirked. Naruto-kun was it. And I'll tell you, again. Sasuke is an emo. The type of emo that is not stable enough to be good relationship material. Besides being an emo, he's more than likely gay. What guy wouldn't at least date one of the crazy fangirls, if nothing else to say he had a girlfriend so they had to leave him alone? He's supposedly a genius, but he's never even tried that course of action. Sakura sighed, her inner personality had never been in favor of her crush on Sasuke. In fact, she had been more towards Naruto than the Uchiha Avenger. Sasuke-kun is not gay, and you will not steer me from Sasuke-kun to Naruto-kun. Sakura could her other self-satisfied smirk in her mental voice. Again with the kun suffix for Naruto-kun's name. Besides, he has M.P. D. too, like you, Inner Sakura sighed. Were you paying attention to that Nikuyoku guy, who was also damn hot by the way, when he explained the Shichigakido bloodline? He, as well as that Kumon guy, were other personalities of Naruto-kun. Any idiot who listened to Nikuyoku's explanation could figure that out. Naruto's shout brought her out of her mental argument. It's not like that. Sakura blinked, hitting Naruto into the floor on reflex. Sorry, zoned out, what happened? She asked Hinata. Over in her part of the room, Tsunade smirked at the pink-haired girl's powerful hit. She already has my monster strength, she laughed quietly to herself. That man, the lavender-haired girl indicated Minota, made some comment to NN Naruto-kun about getting started on those. CRR. Sakura blinked again. What does CRR stand for? Minota smirked as he prepared to tell the two girls exactly what CRR stood for, but as he was about to speak, Naruto interrupted him. Don't you tell them, To-san. Naruto yelled loudly from his place on the floor, realizing his mistake a moment later. To-san. The two girls repeated confusedly, the rest of the room twitched. Naruto winced as the room glared at him. Oops. He chuckled nervously, using the same phrase his father had used 2 days before. Oops? The older occupants of the room yelled at the blonde. Minota sighed as he calmed down. Do you trust these two, Sochi? He asked his son, not bothering to call him Naruto to keep the cover up now. Or do I have to research some memory-suppressing seals? Naruto nodded, as he stood up. Yes, just don't tell them about my tenant. Nodding, Sarutobi looked at the two young girls. What you two are about to hear is an S-class secret. Are you aware of what divulging this information's penalty is? The two girls nodded nervously. DD death. Sakura said shakily. Knowing that, do you still want to know? The two shared a nervous look before nodding. Hi, Hokage-sama. Sarutobi looked to Minota, who nodded and dropped his genjutsu. He looked the same as he did when he found Naruto in the kitchen. Sakura and Hinata gasped. They knew who this was easily. Why Yandaime Hokage-sama? Sakura stuttered, Hinata not even managing that. The one and only. Minota nodded with a smirk. Getting serious, he proceeded to explain his resurrection and its requirements, neatly sidestepping mentioning Kyuubi other than using her as an example of what Akatsuki was after. He had just finished when Shizune poofed back into the room. Kurenai-san says it's fine, Naruto blew it, didn't he? Shizune finished with a sweat drop. You bet your silver-haired Junin-loving ass he did. Minota both agreed and teased. Shizune blushed, Kakashi acted unconcerned, and Rin eyed Shizune carefully, her thoughts unguessable. Minota-sama, Shizune yelled. The aforementioned man snickered. What? He has CRR too. With that, the tension in the room was broke, and they began to talk lightly of other topics for a while. I guess even the strongest of people are still people in the end. Sakura pondered, watching the close-knit group of people that was all but family to each other in front of her and Hinata. I feel like an outsider looking in. She was cut off as Naruto called her and Hinata over. Sakura, Hinata, come and join in. Smiling, the two girls took seats and joined in the talk. An hour later, the two girls were leaving. Bye, everyone. Sakura and Hinata said as they left the room. Everyone still in the room waved them off with various goodbyes. Minota smirked at the closed door the two had just stepped through. I'm going to have to remind Hisashi about that marriage contract between the Namakazes and Hyuga, and also push Naruto's buttons to get him to admit he likes both, and then to get him to exercise his CRR. Minota was already plotting away at schemes to get Naruto together with the two girls. Maybe I can get Nikuyoku's help. I seriously doubt the sin of lust would mind having a harem. Sarutobi hemmed loudly, bringing the room's attention to himself. May we finish our talk with Taita-san? They had all agreed to treat the sins as individual beings, meaning they didn't use the same honorifics that they used for Naruto. Naruto nodded. If I can wake the bum up, hold on. Naruto closed his eyes, going into a light meditation as he tried to wake the lazy sin. Mahiraku. Danyoku. Naruto mumbled, causing the eyebrows in the room. They were going to meet the sin of greed? When Naruto opened his eyes, they thought they had heard wrong and Naruto had said Nikuyoko not Danyoku, but then they took a good look at the purple eyes. The lust was still there, but it was more broad than just for sexual pleasure. They wanted more than that. The shade was also wrong. While they were both a beautiful shade of purple, Danyoku's was decidedly darker than his counterpart. The other difference in the eyes was the fact the pupil was thin-slit. Hello. Taita is asleep, so I came out. Titles Danyoku, businessman of the seven. He had a hand to his chest in gesture. His posture, and the aura coming off him, was the one of the most powerful the people in the room had yet to see, feel. A mixture of Kumans. Nikuyoku's and Taita's, like he had taken the best parts of those three's presences had made them into his own. Well, what did you need? Sarutobi broke out of entrapment of those eyes to answer. Well, since you were kind enough to select some people for the mission to Suna, would you mind filling in the blanks? I assume you're bringing Tsunade as she's going to be Hokage soon? The Sandame nodded. Will you be bringing Shizune, Tsunade? The future Godem nodded. Well, that automatically includes Hinata-chan and Sakura-chan, so that's 7, Danyoku tapped his chin. I think we should be fine with 3 Hokages, ourself. 2, a seasoned medic nin apprentice and 2 rookie medic nin apprentices. He looked around, his slitted violet eyes daring them to object. Sarutobi nodded, as did the others. That is fine, Danyoku-san. Danyoku nodded, a small grin twisting his lips. See ya when I see ya. With a blink the normal Naruto returned. The room couldn't suppress a sigh as the weight of the violet-eyed Mon's presence was lifted. Naruto grinned as he stood up. I'm goin' to go catch Sakura-chan and Hinata-chan, maybe they'd like some ramen in celebration of their medic nin apprentice titles. He paused at the door before adding, oh, and I'll inform them about the mission too. With that Naruto rushed out the door to catch up with the 2 girls with a head start on him. Everyone still in the room grinned, smirked, or giggled perversely as they waved the boy off. Maybe I won't have to push those buttons after all, Minota thought absently. Yo. This is highly inner Sakura canon was all for Sasuke, but I changed it up to speed up Sakura's shifting affections since I can't write romance very well. Ourself is used for him and the others in the Naruto's mind. See ya all next chapter. Kumo at it again. Last time everyone still in the room grinned, smirked, or giggled perversely as they waved the boy off. Maybe I won't have to push those buttons after all, Minota thought absently. It had been 2 days since Naruto had woke up, and the Suna Konoha negotiation team was gathering at the west gate, Naruto and Minota the first to arrive. Why do we have to leave so early? Naruto asked through a yawn and a throbbing headache. Minota snickered at his son. He was in the guise of Futame, just in case someone was looking out a window. Not a morning person, Sochi. His response was a low growl, which only caused him to laugh harder. Or is your first hangover just that bad? Another growl. Huffing, Naruto sat himself against the large gate, fiddling with the Chunin vest he wore over a dark blue t-shirt. I still can't believe we of all people were the only who advanced, not to mention all the other stuff that happened yesterday, having nothing better to do with the time till the others show up. Naruto thought about the things that had transpired yesterday. Flashback. Naruto suppressed a growl as he leapt across the rooftops, quickly approaching the Hokage tower where a messenger bird had told him to go. If Gigi and Ba-san don't have something important to talk to me about, he let the thought trail off. The fox boy blinked as Shikamaru appeared next to him, and keeping pace with him, heading towards the tower as well. Yo, Naruto. Yo, Shikamaru. Naruto greeted back. Those were the only words they exchanged until they reached the tower, jumping through a window into the waiting room in front of the Hokage office. Shizune didn't blink as the two landed in front of her secretary's desk. The window has been left open to spare ninja that couldn't teleport the hassle of climbing the stairs after all. Looking at the clock on her desk, Shizune grinned. Right on time, Nara-san, Naruto-kun. Go right on in. She waved them off, going back to her paperwork. The Nara genius raised an eyebrow. Kun, she's only been in the village since the evasion, which Naruto was unconscious for 2 days after, meaning Naruto must either have known her before, maybe a family friend, or that he spends a lot of time here. Deciding to leave whatever connection Naruto had to the future Godaim's assistant, and most likely the Godem to be herself, Shikamaru walked into the office. A few minutes later, the two former genin walked out of the office. Wearing Chunin vests. They were the only two to make Chunin. Huh. Now I get to summon foxes. In Naruto's mind, Kyuheim giggled. Yes you do, Naruto-kun, that was the bet, she panted. Naruto gave a nervous chuckle. Why are you panting? Kyubi giggled again. Just getting to know Nikuyoku a little better. He could hear a rather satisfied tone in her voice. I can't remember the last time I had a session this good. Naruto mentally blushed. That was a little too much information, thank you. Schooling his features, Naruto smirked at his lazy friend. Can you believe we made Chunin? He questioned, his tone sounding like he didn't quite believe it. The pineapple head couldn't stop his own minute grin. I know what you mean. The noise Ino's going to make will give me a migraine for sure. At the thought of the blonde-haired girl's high-pitched shriek to come, the small grin became a heavy frown. Bothersome. Laughing at his black-haired friend, Naruto stood on the windowsill, getting ready to take off. Speaking of woman, I'm supposed to be meeting with Hinata-chan and Sakura-chan at Ichiraku Inn. He took a look at the wall clock, noticing it was already 12:35. Kuso, I'm late. With that panicked yell, Naruto took off with vigor. Shikamaru smirked. Totally whipped, just like my old man. Taking a look at the clock, the genius paled. Kuso. I'm late? Shikamaru took off with the same vigor as Naruto had. It was Shizune's turn to smirk. Looks like you're both whipped. The secretary chuckled to herself. Naruto was about halfway to the ramen stand where he'd have to face the wrath of two. Well, one, as Hinata wouldn't do anything, when he heard a scream. What the fuck? Naruto asked, looking around from his place on a rooftop. Concentrating chakra into his eyes, he focused on the lazy eyes of Tada. When he opened them again, his blue eyes had the slitted pupils of the lazy sin. Though the posture made it clear Naruto was still in control. Eyes darting around, seeing through the walls and other obstructions, he found the source of the scream. A gang surrounded a small girl. She was gagged, which explained the ceased screaming. She couldn't be more than 9. Naruto narrowed his blue eyes, allowing them to return to normal so that he didn't waste any more chakra than need be. I smell storms. Great amounts of rain and thunder. Naruto narrowed his now normal blue eyes. Kumogakure nin. Most likely. Tada agreed. If I remember your history classes from the academy, Kumo and Konoha never got along, so it would stand to reason they'd use this opportunity. The question is, who did they kidnap? My money's on one of the noble family's youngest. Wouldn't the youngest noble be Hinata's little sister, Hanabi? Eyes widening at the last part, Naruto took a closer look at the girl with Tada's eyes. At the same moment, the gagged girl looked up, and their eyes met. She had her Byakugan active so they saw each other. She mouthed, "Help," before one of the Kumo nin hit her on the neck and knocked her out. With a growl, Naruto's eyes switched to the slitted pupil red-eyed glare of Gakido and Beast Kyuubi. Kill them. Kyuubi growled inside Naruto's mind, Gakido cheering his support. Mahiraku. Gakido. Naruto yelled. Chainless shackles appeared on his ankles and wrists. With a burst of Kyuubi's crimson chakra, Gakido took off at the nins, going right through the tree that had been keeping him out of sight of the captures. The Kumo nin had no idea what hit them. 1 second they were making their getaway after the successful kidnapping of the youngest Hyuga heiress, when there was a burst of malevolent chakra from ahead of them. Suddenly, not even half a second after the burst of chakra, a blonde-haired ninja burst through the tree that he had been using for cover. They were too surprised to react as the blonde demon, for what else had such a chakra, threw his arms behind him before throwing them forward. The claw-like nails pierced the civilian clothes they wore for camouflage like butter, going right through their hearts and killing them instantly. But the hands didn't stop there. Without stopping to remove the bodies, the arms continued on, wrapping around the necks of 2 more and swiftly breaking their necks. Gakido retracted his arms as he landed, glaring at the shocked leader of the squad. The shocked captain growled, picking up. Hanabi the Junin took off running. He could take the boy. The others had fallen to surprise, but he couldn't handle the ninja that the child was bound to have caught the attention of with that massive burst of malicious chakra. Gakido growled, preparing to make chase, when the man was sent flying backwards into the stump of the tree he had flown through earlier. Red eyes trailing back to where the man had been sent flying from, the Sin saw that Hanabi was safe, standing behind her father shyly. Hiyashi himself was smirking at the incarnation of wrath. "Are you the Kyuubi, Naruto, or one of those other personalities?" the clan head asked, his voice unafraid even at the possibility of this being the Nine Tails. Gakido. Hiyashi nodded. "One of the others then." He eyed the Sin's handiwork. "Your name suits you, Gakido-san. I owe you and the other yous as well a great debt for finding my daughter. I invite you to dine at the Hyuga estate tonight. We eat at 7 sharp. Please do not be late." With that, the noble turned on his heel and left with his daughter. "Oh, and dress as best you can, Naruto-san." Naruto, he had reverted as the man spoke, could only blink in shock. What the fuck just happened? Naruto fidgeted as he stood in front of the gate to the main house of the Hyuga compound. He wore a simple but elegant black silk kimono with the yin-yang on the back. His father told him that the Hyuga preferred traditional dress, and geta on his feet, his hite. Ite was tied to his right bicep, causing it to be hidden under the pillow sleeves of his kimono. He was just about to knock when the gate slid open on their own. Naruto. Neji greeted. "Hello, Neji." Naruto returned, not sure how he should act next to his opponent from the exams. Neji smirked, reading the nervousness in Naruto's posture. "No hard feelings, Naruto. I needed the wake-up call." He bowed. "Thank you for that." Naruto blinked. He hadn't expected that reaction. "Welcome, I guess." Naruto scratched the back of his head. "So, can I come in?" "Of course." Neji laughed. It wasn't a very open and hearty one, but he is a Hyuga. He had a family reputation to uphold. "Follow me. Hinata-sama and Hanabi-sama would be more than happy to entertain you for the next 20 minutes till dinner." Naruto nodded. Following the Hyuga to the training field in the back of the traditional home, where they found the 2 girls going through a light kata. "Hello, Hinata-chan, Hanabi-chan." Naruto greeted. Neji had excused himself to go wash up for dinner. His voice startled the 2 girls, both looking over at him with a light blush. "Hello, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked, her stuttering completely gone but her voice still shy. "Naruto-sama," that one made Naruto blush and look at Hanabi questionably. "Why the sama?" the blonde asked, confused. Hanabi giggled. "You did save my life." The 10-year-old took a good at him, concentrating a lot at his eyes. "Your eyes are different," she sounded confused. "I thought only the Uchiha could change their eye color." Naruto chuckled. My eyes change to a lot more colors than the Uchiha do, Hanabi-chan, and please drop the sama. Hanabi giggled again. Naruto-sama is Naruto-sama, no changey. She said, using that cute voice kids could get away with anything with. Hinata couldn't suppress her own giggle at Naruto's groan. Fine. Hanabi-chan, you win. No changey. Naruto grinned as he heard the dinner chime. Shall we go eat? So, you did have decent clothing to join the Hyuga for dinner under such circumstances. Hiyashi spoke from behind Naruto. Naruto didn't jump in surprise, which surprised the Hyuga clan head. Hi, Hiyashi-san. I asked Gigi what would be appropriate for such an occasion. Not exactly a lie. Sarutobi had been there when he had asked his father. He said the Hyuga appreciated traditional clothing for a thank-you dinner. Hiyashi nodded. Follow me, girls, you too. Hiyashi ordered, turning and beginning his trek to the dinner room. Who is this, Gigi, you referred to, Naruto-san? He was curious. Gigi was a very familiar term and, as far as Hiyashi knew, he had no living family. Naruto answered absently, too busy looking around to see the surprised look on the youngest Hyuga's face at his answer. Old man Hokage, he was real helpful. While Hanabi's shock at Naruto's familiarness with such an important person was clear, the other two weren't so shocked. Hinata, since she already knew of the close relationship between the two. Hinata did tell me Naruto-san was in the office when she became a medic nin apprentice, and he's going to be on the Suna negotiation team. Which shows Sarutobi must know him well. Hiyashi thought as he guided them to the head table of the 3 tables in the grand dining room. The room had 3 tables, the main house one that sat on a raised level from the other 2, then the clan council's table, and finally the branch house table. The 4 sat down at the head table, Hiyashi at the head, Naruto 1 seat down from Hiyashi's right and directly across from Hinata, who had Hanabi sitting on her left. This left 4 spots open at the head table. The ones on either side of Hiyashi, one next to Naruto, and the other end spot. What happened to the leader? Naruto asked as he sat down. The answer sent a shiver down the blonde's spine. I gave him to Ibiki. Naruto nodded, watching people fill into their seats. They in turn looked at him like he was an abnormality. Of course. Naruto thought. Many here know me as the demon child, and even if they don't, sitting with the main family would be considered odd. When everyone was seated, Hiyashi called for attention. As you all know, earlier today Hanabi was kidnapped. Hiyashi began as he stood up. The culprits were the same as the ones who kidnapped Hinata 7 years ago. This brought enraged looks to many of the faces in the room. The Kumo Nin were much more prepared this time, and with Konoha in this state it was an easy enough infiltration. They infiltrated, found my daughter when she was on one of her walks, killed her guard, and made their escape. About 10 minutes later 4 of them were dead, and the leader is currently wishing that he was the same. They had apparently forgotten to gag Hanabi. After she regained conciseness, she managed to scream loudly enough for the passing Naruto-sans. He gestured to the nervous blonde. Who wouldn't be nervous with a room full Hyuga sizing you up? Attention to be caught. Within 2 minutes of Naruto-sans interference 4 of the 5 were dead, and the leader is now getting Ibiki's hospitality. Everyone in the room flinched at the mention of the heavily scarred Mons. Hospitality. Let it be known that Uzumaki Naruto is a friend of the Hyuga, and any attack on him will be met as if it was an attack on myself or my daughters. Eyes wide, Naruto stuttered. Hiyashi-san, you do realize all the enemies you just made throughout the entire village, correct? Many still hate me for that incident. Naruto avoided directly mentioning what that incident was in front of the 2 girls. Hiyashi nodded. Another thing. Uzumaki is forgiven of his family's misdoing of 13 years ago in the eyes of the Hyuga. He stated as he sat down. Leaning over, he whispered so that only Naruto could hear. Sorry for pegging it on your family, but I'm sure you didn't want Hinata and Hanabi to know about that quite yet. Naruto nodded, replying in the same tone so that only Hiyashi heard. It's fine, and thank you. Besides, Uzumaki isn't my true family name. I suppose I need to stand up and say a little? Hiyashi nodded. Looking curious at the comment about Naruto's family, that was cutting it close. I know Tada, but Two-san said we could trust Hyuga Hiyashi with the secret if we chose to. Kumon, some help with your welcome speech, please. Of course, Naruto, this is the type of thing I'm best at, after all. Naruto stood, standing as tall and proud as he could. Thank you for the pardon and the compliments, Hiyashi-san. But it is undue. I had the element of surprise. My special chakra had shocked them enough for me to kill the 4 Chunin before they reacted, and the Junin ran trying to avoid meeting anyone who had sensed my chakra spike. He just happened to run right into you. As he spoke, Naruto made sure to make eye contact with everyone. As for the crimes of my family, I am not my family. He bowed to the crowd of Hyuga, turning to face Hiyashi. Thank you again for the pardon and you were welcome. Bowing again, Naruto sat back down, still with his rigid, for him anyway, posture. Hiyashi nodded. Bring in the food. On his order, the side door opened to let in some servants with trays of sushi and other traditional high-class foods. An hour later the majority of the Hyuga had left, leaving only those at the head table. Hiyashi grinned, handing the boy, who had been drinking tea up to that point, a sake cup. Here, boy, have a drink. Though he had had a bit himself, the Hyuga was nowhere near tipsy. You too as well, but don't expect it to happen again soon. Especially you, Hanabi. He passed sake cups to his 2 daughters, filling them from his jug. Naruto smiled down at his cup. I think Tu-san wouldn't mind me having my first taste of sake with you, Hiyashi. He had been told to drop the san, and just call him Hiyashi during the dinner. Hiyashi raised an eyebrow. Oh, and who was your father, Naruto? Naruto's condition had been to drop the san in his own name. Naruto smiled up at the man, the prankster in him jumping for joy in anticipation of Hiyashi's look when he found out. Namikaze Minoda, the Yondaime Hokage, and the man you called your best friend. To the point you were each other's best man for your weddings. The only reason you weren't named my godfather was so Kakashi could have me legally to raise if my parents died, since he and Rin couldn't have kids. Hiyashi froze, his sake cup almost to his mouth. I told you my real family name isn't Uzumaki, it's Namikaze. Uzumaki. I'm Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet you. For the first time, Naruto introduced himself as his father's son. Hanabi and Hiyashi were shocked. Hinata was spared such because she already knew. Minota's kid? Now that think about it, they do look almost identical, and no one else knew about Minota's marriage other than the few who attended. The pale-eyed man felt a tear trickle down his cheek. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. If I had known, Naruto smiled. It's fine, Hiyashi, Kakashi and Rin would have done the same. You didn't know. He took a swig from his cup. This is good stuff. Smiling off their shock, everyone drank up. End flashback. Hello. Tsunade greeted as she walked up, the rest of the group behind her. Naruto winced in pain as his head throbbed at the loud noise of everyone saying good morning. Naruto-kun, Tu-san told me to give you this, Hinata said, handing the blonde a pill. What is it? Hangover relief. The drinkers of the group deadpanned together, and the best kind Konoha has. Naruto nodded, downing the pill. He blinked as his headache left almost immediately. Wow, super fast acting. The same people who had answered his question nodded in agreement. Yep, gods, and I don't mean that pale old Shinigami either, gift to the world. Minota grinned. Tsuna. Naruto cheered, grinning like the foxboy he was. Yo. This reeked filler, didn't it? But there is meaning to this chapter, other than getting Naruto accepted by the Hyuga, it just won't come into play for a while. I don't think I added any new terms, so keep reading. Next comes Suna and Gaara. And Tamari, of course, winking face. I also kinda forgot Hanabi's age, so I just went with 9. Return to top traveling and revenge last time. To Suna. Naruto cheered, grinning like the foxboy he was. Now. Naruto's enthusiasm lasted right up till they started across the desert the day after they left the village. He quickly discovered he had a disliking for the intense heat of the giant sand-covered area's days. The others were the same. Coming from a forestry area, they were all used to cooler temperatures. Minota was the only one holding up well. Apparently he was using a high-level wind element control exercise to keep him cool. It caused a light breeze to wrap around his body and kept him cool as a side effect. They had talked before they hit the desert, but the trip after that point had been mostly silent. Their tempers were high due to the heat. They all smiled happily as the gates of Suna came into view. After 3 days of travel in the desert, they had reached their destination. The guards at the gate opened the large wooden gates silently, having nothing to say to the victorious side of the battle. On the other side, Tamari stood waiting, She had been warned of their early arrival by a messenger bird sent by one of the advanced guard that had spotted the leaf nin. Greetings. Delegation from Konohagakure, I am Subaku Tamari and I shall be your guide during your stay here. Tamari greeted with a bow. Sarutobi nodded. Greeting, Subaku-san. I am Sandame Hokage Sarutobi Sasuke, this is my entourage. He gestured behind him where the others stood. Tamari nodded to them as she came up from her bow, though her eyes widened as she recognized the blonde that had fought her brother on almost equal terms. She kept her face calm. As Hokage-sama and his entourage arrived early, and it is already late. True, it had been night for a good hour. Baki-sensei, the temporary Kazekage, will meet with you tomorrow. He is already in a meeting with the Suna Council that is expected to run long. Sarutobi nodded. That is fine. He mumbled something incoherent. Even Naruto's demonically advanced hearing only picked out, I understand council meetings well enough, or something to that effect. Could you please navigate us to where we will be staying? Hi, please follow me. Tamari answered, turning around and walking down the street towards the Kazekage compound at the foot of the Kazekage tower. They walked in silence until Naruto's stomach growled loudly enough that those who knew of the Kyuubi's presence in Naruto thought the sound was Demon herself. Hee, there a ramen stand around here? Naruto asked, scratching his head embarrassedly. Minota nodded. Yeah, I believe there should be one a few blocks away, he answered, forgetting he had never been to Suna as Futame Arashi before, and even when he had come as Namikaze Minota it had been without Sarutobi's or anyone else's knowledge. So he got weird looks from both Tamari and the older part of the Leaf delegation. Grinning at each other, father and son took off without noticing the looks. Arashi-san has been here before? Tamari questioned. There had been introductions on the way to the compound and Minota had told her to just call him by his first name, of his genjutsu. She hadn't been aware of any Leaf nins entering Suna for quite some years. Sarutobi broke off his suspicious glare at where Minota had stood to smile at the girl. Most likely on a simple escort mission a while back. Tamari still looked suspicious. But this is the Kazekage compound area. Only employees, family and guests of the Kazekage have access. I know the ramen stand Arashi-san was talking about, and it is well within the areas cut off to the public. Sarutobi groaned. No idea, shall we follow them? Everyone nodded, Tamari still looking suspicious, and made chase. When they arrived, the two ramen lovers were already seated with a pile of empty bowls on the counter next to them. Sakura sighed, knowing her teammates' hunger for ramen and the fact it apparently ran in his family. She sat down, Hinata doing the same. One shrimp ramen and one miso ramen, please. Sakura ordered when the chef, a man looking a lot like Tucci from the Ichiraku ramen stand back in Konoha, looked over at her and Hinata. And 2 glasses of water. Hinata added. The chef nodded, turning to the sink to pour their water. After handing the glasses to the girls he turned to his work area to make the orders. The others shrugged, there were worse late dinners than ramen, and sat down to dinner. Half an hour later they got up. Tamari escorted them to their rooms and they went to sleep, their sense at high alert at the possibility of a last attempt on their lives. Tamari headed off to the council meeting room. Come in. Baki's voice ordered after Tamari knocked on the door. Tamari stepped into the room with a bow. Council, Baki-sensei, I have just delivered the Leaf delegation to their rooms. Tamari began, causing a few surprised looks. They had arrived early, and since it was to be my job tomorrow anyway, I greeted them at the gate and escorted them to their rooms. The confused looks vanished, replaced by curious ones. Baki nodded from his seat next the Kazekage seat. Very good, Tamari, who was included. The Sandame, Godem, the Godime's apprentice, the apprentice's 2 apprentices, a Chunin, and another Chunin. That removed the curious looks as well, but she had a bomb to drop. The second Chunin is the one who fought Gaara during the invasion. Uzumaki Naruto. Baki nodded, he knew the 2 cages would come, along with the Godime's apprentice, but the 2 other apprentices and the first Chunin were complete surprises, and he had suspected they might bring the Genin, apparently newly raised to Chunin since the invasion, that had fought Gaara along with them. Very good. There was a pause. How is your brother? Tamari frowned, since the failed invasion Gaara had shut himself up in his room, and his aura was leaking more of Shukaku's chakra than was normal. The same, every time anyone but Kankura and I get close, they feel like they're going to die, more acutely than normal anyway, and we can only get so close to his door before experiencing the same. Which is where we leave his food. The acting cage sighed. Very well. You may leave, Tamari. Tamari left with a bow. Baki waited till he was sure she was gone before speaking. So, how demanding shall we be in the negotiations tomorrow? Just how demanding shall we be when faced with some of the strongest Kohagakure has? A general clamor filled the room. Baki sighed. This is going to be a long night. Gaara sat in a corner of his room, his gourd dissolved into sand as it and its contents played around his shivering body, his eyes wide and body shaking as Shukaku spoke in his mind. Do you feel the boy's presence? Hi. Shukaku smirked in his Jinchuriki's mind. Kill him, kill the boy, and prove your existence. Gaara nodded, as he stood the sand formed back into the giant gourd he was known for. Yes, mother. Grinning his insomniac's only insane grin, Gaara disappeared in a swirl of sand. Kumon threw off the covers of his bed as he gasped awake. Something dangerous is coming. It was a side effect of how his Sharingan-esque eyes worked. Sometimes he couldn't control what he got from the future or when he got it. This time a vision of a giant raccoon coming their way was all he got. Damn, must be Shukaku coming for revenge. Climbing out of bed he went into the main room without bothering to dress. Danyoku and Tada sat across from each other at the bar that they had asked Naruto for. Hey, Kumon, what's up? The violet-eyed man asked, as he put down his now empty shot glass next to a bottle of whiskey. Tada sipped from a half glass of the same alcohol as he moved his eyes to defocus on Kumon, but remained silent. Kumon bowed. A vision. The lazy Sin's eyes narrowed. Of Shukaku coming for revenge. Damn. Go get dressed, I'll wake the others up. Kumon nodded, walking back into his room. Wake up. Danyoku yelled. A few minuets later the Sins and Naruto stood in front of him and Tada in various states of dress. Kyuubi had not been disturbed by the shout. Kumon has informed me of Shukaku's pending revenge attack. This got either indifferent reactions or, in Naruto's case, a shout. What? Naruto yelled. Calm down. Danyoku commanded, scratching his chin. Naruto. Yeah. You are not to use our abilities in this next fight. Naruto blinked. You heard me. He gestured to the other Sins and himself. Have decided you need to work your other abilities than us. As you know from one of your more recent practices with us, there are some techniques that make it so you can't use our abilities, so let's see if you're ready for those by seeing if you can fight on your own. You always prided yourself on being able to fight without bloodlines, so let's see if you still don't, Kumon added. When you say bloodlines, those that mean I'm not to use my Okawa-san's bloodline either? Naruto asked, shifting through what had been said. Tada smirked, placing down his now finished glass. The plan was to say no if you didn't ask before the fight, but since you saw the double meaning in our words on your own you may use it. Taking a deep breath, Naruto nodded. Fine, I shall not use the abilities of Shichigakido in the fight with Shukaku no Gaara. Excellent timing. Here he is now. With a snap of Tada's fingers, the mindscape Naruto wavered and disappeared from the room. You can all go back to sleep now, guys. The Sins nodded and returned to their respective room with a slight bow. Sucks, sometime, doesn't it, Mond? Danyoku asked Tada, using a different name. Tada raised an eyebrow at his fellow's use of Mond when addressing him. That it does, Arashi. Why are we using our true names? Danyoku didn't blink at being called Arashi, being the only ones to remember our past incarnations, and because we can. Danyoku. Arashi reached over and grabbed the bottle of whiskey, chugging a lot of it. Did I tell you about a vision Kumon shared with me? Tadamon shook his head. He sees a man dressed in fine clothes, a book in one hand and a broadsword in the other, green eyes and blonde hair. A silver cross hanging at belly from a long silver chain. I fear he is closer than we'd like. The blue eyes widened. A quick grab snatched the bottle of alcohol and down what was left. His next word summing up Danyoku's feeling exactly in one single eloquent word. Fuck. Indeed. Naruto's eyes opened the same second Gaara appeared in his room. They locked eyes. Naruto held a finger to his lips in the universal shish motion, jerking ahead towards the training fields in the distant view of Naruto window. Gaara nodded, disappearing in a sand cloud. Opening the window, Naruto leapt out the window, glad he had gotten a room to himself. Yo, first off, I got a few requests to say what CRR means. Well, CRR clan restoration rites, hope that clears things up. This was mostly just filler, but the little bit between Danyoku Urashi and Taita Mond is shadowing for my own little bit of Villians. German, Mond Moon, and I think that's it, laters. The long-awaited fight, yo. Well, I was asked to make a list of the sins to make it easier to remember who's who, so I will now be putting this at the head of my chapter. Sin. Japanese name. True name Greed. Danyoku, Urashi. Sloth. Taita. Mond. Lust. Nikuyoku. Wrath Gakido. Pride. Kumon. Gluttony. Baoshoku. Envy. Shido. Last time Naruto's eyes opened, the same second Gaara appeared in his room. They locked eyes. Naruto held a finger to his lips in the universal shish motion, jerking his head towards the training fields in the distant view of Naruto window. Gaara nodded, disappearing in a sand cloud. Opening the window, Naruto leapt out the window, glad he had gotten a room to himself. Now Naruto landed a soft thump on the sandy ground across from Gaara, wearing only his boxers and secured kunai, shuriken pouch thanks to his rush. Well, Subaku Gaara? Naruto questioned. What drives you, Uzumaki Naruto? Gaara returned. You're like me, yet my opposite. Naruto grinned. You mean why I'm not an insomniac killer? Grin faded, becoming a frown. I was close, once, to that. But I was saved by companionship. By having friends. That was the last word Naruto got in before a wave of sand was hurtling towards him. Face settling into a serious look, Naruto performed the necessary seal for his exploding clone. Two of said clone appeared, blowing up on contact with the wave and dispersing the sand. By the way, Naruto spoke through the sand cloud. It's Namikaze Uzumaki, not just Uzumaki. Without waiting for the sand to settle, Naruto threw an exploding tag kunai at the red head. Minato grinned as he watched the two Jinchuriki begin their rematch. It seems I didn't get through to the Gaki, I'll let Naruto have a crack at it. Performing the cross-like seal that his son was so fond of, he summoned 4 shadow clones. Silently the clones nodded, 3 running off, 1 sitting down cross-legged, facing towards the fight. Starting suddenly the clone began a series of inge, freezing on a ram seal. A human's blue chakra glowing from the clone's body. In the distance Minato saw 3 identical glows to the one next to him. Good. The legendary blonde stepped in front of his clone, closing himself in a chakra line that connected the clones together that appeared on the ground after he had done so. A box of blue chakra rose high into the sky, the 4 clones acting as the corners, enclosing Minato and the 2 Jinchuriki before vanishing to the naked eye. Shuinjutsu, Kumokasumi Chakra Shomei, Sealing Arts. Hidden Chakra Signature, Part 1, Down. Running through a quicker inge, Minato held the position of the snake seal. Genjutsu. Hitoshirezu Senju. Illusionary Arts. Disappearing Battlefield. In a flash, the clones himself and the 2 Jinchuriki disappeared from the sight of anyone other than the aforementioned group, at least, that's what Minato thought, while in reality 2 figures watched from outside of the Yondaime's field of sensing. No one will interfere this time. Minato mumbled quietly as he sat down in a vantage point that would allow him to watch the fight without being seen, still holding the snake seal. As expected, the sand-made shield rose to take the kunai, the explosion not denting the densely compacted sand. Running quickly to the side, Naruto threw several more kunai at the other boy as he ran in a circle around him. That shield, it only rises when danger is at a point. Remembering how Shikamaru and Temari had had strategy fight depending on distance measurements, Naruto pulled out several shuriken. Throwing the metal stars so they landed about 3 feet away from Gaara and grew steadily closer until the shield sprung up again. There, the shield raises 2 feet from him, so if I can, Naruto focused, eyeing the space between Gaara and where the shield would appear in concentration. Kage Bunshin Daibakufu no Jutsu. Naruto muttered doing the quick inge set. A clone appeared holding onto Gaara in a full body grab, more than 50 yards away from Naruto. Minato's eyes showed his surprise. He can create clones so far from himself. Even the Naidame, who invented the fucking technique to begin with, was only able to summon the clones more than a few feet from himself. With such mastery with the combat uses for this technique, I'm definitely going to teach him the non-combat ways. To use this jutsu, like the Kage Bunshin training method, he stared for a second in his continued shock, before an evil smirk crossed his features. Naruto of the Kage Bunshin, that's a good nickname for you, Sochi, make it as feared as my own once was. Gaara's eyes widened as the clone latched on to his back glowed. Naruto stood patiently waiting for smoke to clear. When it did, it revealed Gaara tucked away in his sand cocoon. He was summoning Shukaku. Shit, Naruto yelled, forming a Rasengan and charging the sphere of sand. He was met halfway with a punch to the face that sent him reeling in the other direction, causing him to lose concentration and dispel his Rasengan. Standing, Naruto glared at the Tsunabunshin in front of him and flicked some blood from his split lip with his thumb, the minuscule cut already sealed up by Kyuubi chakra. Solid bunshins are my thing, damn it, as if to prove this point. Naruto created several of his shadow clones that proceeded to beat the sand out of the Gaara clone. Recreating a Rasengan in his hand, he charged Gaara again, this time making sure to keep an eye out for any more sand clones. I need to work on my speed. I'm the son of the fastest man alive, for crying out loud, Naruto thought when he finally reached the cocoon and sank the spiraling blue orb of chakra into the protective shell. Or, he would have if it hadn't exploded outwards in a blast of demon chakra and sand. Shit, he's gotten faster at summoning the damn raccoon, Naruto thought with a mental growl. Hello again. Namikaze Naruto. Shukaku yelled down, Gaara already having performed his false sleep jutsu. Hurry and summon the sins. Naruto growled again. They were right, the opponents the sins have beaten truly think I am useless without them. He began to channel Kyuheim's chakra, a red typhoon starting to swirl about him, lighting the night up. Well, I know how to fix that. His pride flaring, Naruto made an inge, a familiar cross made by his fingers. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Mass Shadow Clone Technique. He yelled, his voice gaining a slightly demonic edge. Hundreds of clones appeared, occupying every piece of space available, his crimson aura receding back into his body. The moonless night was suddenly relit as a swirling ball of glowing red chakra appeared in the right hand of every single clone. Shukaku's eyes widened, in malicious joy. Ooh, so you can fight for yourself, Namikaze Naruto. The human boy smirked, all several hundred of him. Why, as matter of fact, I can. They spoke as one, the demonic edge still present. Let's show him. My power is not weaker than his. It just stems from a different source, he decided mentally, as he and his celled-made army leapt towards the weakest of the demon lords. So, he's the one with the Shichigakido, Baka? A female voice asked from under a straw hat, her body hidden by a black cloak. Her only discernible feature was that she was about a foot shorter than her companion. Yeah, I can sense Arashi in him. A male dressed in the same concealing manner as his partner responded. The tone of the female's voice implied a rolling of the eyes on her part. With your sensing ability? Boy, you couldn't sense the Kyuubi if she was a foot in front of you. He snorted. My other senses would kick in by then, Koibito, sweetheart, lover, and quit calling me, boy, I'm the older one here. And I'm the higher ranking one. Only 'cause I don't like paperwork, he smacked her ass. Catch me if you can, Koibito. The man laughed as he faded away in a blur of speed. Oh, you're a dead man, Kyushi, the woman yelled, chasing after the man. Shukaku had suffered many things in his life, but he couldn't recall anything as painful as several hundred Rasengans ripping into his sand-made flesh. RRRRRRRHHH. While Sukaku was distracted by pain, the real Naruto ran up his monstrous back. Wake the hell up, Gaara! He roared, jumping forward and delivering a devastating right hook. Gaara, who had been standing in his sleep on his demon's brow, woke with a gasp. NNNNNNOOO. The Ichibi yelled as he was pulled back into his host, the combined smoke from the departure of the demon and clones causing visibility to be zilch, causing the two Jinchuriki to begin to free fall several stories. Again. Gaara mumbled in pain from the punch and having his demon forcefully returned. First he had been beaten by the father and now the son. Naruto, remembering the pain of such a fall, he reached over to wrap an arm around the redhead's waist. When they were about to hit the ground, he cushioned their fall with a burst of chakra, though they were both sent rolling from each other on impact with the sand. How are you so strong, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto? Gaara rasped, turning his head so that he could look in Naruto's direction through the still lingering smoke and sand clouds that obscured their vision. Naruto wasn't in much better shape. With his adrenaline rush past, he now felt his exhaustion, but he turned his head towards Gaara as he spoke anyway. Friends, They saved me from myself, and let me grow strong. I used to be like you, I used to hate everything. My village, myself, and humans in general, and they hated me. He laughed, dry in his exhaustion. But I knew not the reason why I was treated so horribly, so my hatred was even more. The blonde lifted one tired hand to pat his forehead protector. Then, I gained my first friend, and that all changed. I started to like the world a bit. I began to work with others, even my bloodline limit, Shigekido, stems from working with others, even if those others are variations of myself. He mused. Gaara flinched, remembering a time where he himself tried, and oh how he had longed, to have friends, and the reason why he had given up the pursuit. He said quietly, once thought I could have friends, but it was a ruse to try to assassinate you. Naruto filled in the blank, and Gaara nodded. What a jackass. It started small, a slight twitch of the lips, but soon it happened. Gaara laughed, Naruto grinned, laughing a bit himself. But mine didn't. The Yondaime Hokage heir spoke to the Yondaime Kazekage heir after their small laughing fit had passed. In fact, I've gained more since. He blushed. I want as more, and I think I just might stand a chance. There was silence. They are what gives me strength, I need, to protect them, and for that I will grow all the stronger. His pupils slitted vertically as he stood shakily and walked over to stand above Gaara, the debris finally clearing. Hurt them, and die, Naruto declared, his blue eyes with their slitted pupils glaring down at the dull green eyes of his beaten opponent. What was that? Kyuubi asked as she and the Sins, who'd been watching the fight on their TV, felt a tremor in Naruto's mind, and, for a split second, the screen included everything. Chakra signatures, directions, values, lusts, everything. From their place on at the bar, Danyoku and Tada clanked glasses, twin evil smirks on their face. Minato smiled, standing as he dispelled the clones, and thus dispelling the barriers that had prevented the fight from being noticed, and walked to where the boys rested, Naruto having collapsed after his last threat. The Suna Nin were all surprised as they felt Shukaku's and another demonic chakra residual flood their senses, and quickly left to find the source. I shall not touch them. Gaara gasped through his pain, directing his eyes at the crescent moon hanging in the night sky. I would not be so foolish. Naruto smirked as he too looked up at the sliver of moonlight. Damn straight. Language, Sochi, language. Minato, wearing his futame genjutsu, warned playfully as he walked up next to the two Jinchuriki. Naruto scoffed from his place, laying spread eagle on the ground. Like you have any right to talk, To-san. Minota just suck his tongue at the boy. At least I had the brains to dress before going out into a desert at night, Baka Sochi. He laughed, pointing out Naruto's lack of clothes bar plain black boxers Hittite and kunai pouch. Any reply Naruto had was cut off by the arrival of Baki and Temari. Gaara, Temari yelled, running to her brother and cradling him in her arms. Who are you two? Baki questioned, walking over to the two unknowns. Futame Arashi. Minota answered, giving his false name. Member of the Sandaime Hokage's guard. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, also of Oji-san's guard. Naruto greeted with a small wave. What is the meaning of this? A Suna council man shouted as he, as well as the rest of the council and half of the Suna Nin arrived. I am the one who instigated the fight, council man. Gaara spoke up, preventing the council from pinning the fight on Naruto. I wanted a rematch from the invasion. He stood, with visible effort as he broke from his sister's embrace. Anyone aiming to harm him will have to go through me first, he declared, standing in front of his new friend protectively. Hey, now, you don't need to, Naruto started. Gaara interrupted. I feel that I must, and so I will. A thin smile became known on Gaara's lips, shocking every Suna person present. Brother. Brother? Naruto asked dazedly. Brother, Gaara confirmed. Exchanging smiles, the two fainted. Natsd lives. You hear me? Lives? Cue evil laughter. Yes, I know you all hate my guts, but hopefully, now that I'm back into the swing of Natsd, the next chap will be better, longer, and posted sooner. Well, laters. Mist returns, and Sasuke leaves Sin. Japanese name, true name Greed, Danyoku, Arashi, Storm, Sloth, Tada, Mond, Moon. Lust, Nikuyoku, Wrath Gakido, Pride, Kumon. Gluttony, Baoshoku, envy, Shito, last time. Brother? Naruto asked dazedly. Brother, Gaara confirmed. Exchanging smiles, the two fainted. Now Minato grinned as he walked leisurely through the sand dunes on his way back to Suna. Hey, that went better than I had expected. He thought, thinking about how well the Suna Council had taken the fight. He had stayed at the site after everyone else had left, simply stargazing before deciding to head back. Get back here, Baka! Minato blinked, turning to the source of the female shout, raising an amused eyebrow as he watched two figures running around the dunes, the one chased noticeable taller than the chaser. No way, Koibito, I like living, thanks, the chased one. A male, if the voice was any hint, shouted back, laughter in his voice. Deciding to ignore the seemingly lovers' game, at least he assumed they were since the man had called the woman, Koibito, Minato kept walking, that was, until the girl cried out the name of a jutsu. Raiden. Rakurai no Jutsu, lightning release, lightning bolt. Turning in surprise, he watched as the low A-class lightning jutsu shot from the woman's extended right hand, the new light revealing her to be wearing a cloak where Minato couldn't distinguish it before, and headed straight for the other. Damn it, Koi. Turning around, the man backhanded the jutsu off course, the bolt of lightning discharging into the sand. Shaking his hand, he looked over at his partner. You know you can't scratch me with something so weak. Well, we both know that I get pissed easy, she replied, suddenly behind him, whacking him over his straw hat-covered head. And that's for the ass slap, Baka. The Yondaime was gaping. He just fucking backhanded a fucking low A-class lightning jutsu, and called it weak, he mentally yelled. And she fired off such a jutsu just 'cause he slapped her damn ass? The woman needs some anger management classes. My name isn't Baka. If anyone here is a Baka, it's you, Koibito. You just revealed our ninja status to Yondaime-san over there. The cloaked man said, rubbing his sore head through his hat and gesturing toward the blonde with his other hand. That was our plan, Baka. While the two continued their argument, Minato, a few dozen yards off from the pair, was suddenly on high alert. Excuse me, he muttered, his voice frozen over with cold, barely caring indifference, the two hearing him and turned to face him. But, how do you two know about that? He asked, suddenly between them with a kunai in each hand, left at the woman's throat while his right held the other to the man's, the two cursing quietly as they saw the special kunai that had helped earn Minato his nickname rest at the man's feet. As much as I'd love to fight someone of your level, Namikaze-san, that is not our intention. The male spoke from the shadows cast by his hat, his tone calm and respectful but with undertone of much confidence, as if the boy thought he could win a fight with the one many consider to be history's strongest shinobi. How do you know me? Minato asked, his narrow blue eyes turning to glare at the male. One of the Kiri no Shinobi-gatana Nananan Shu, 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist. Can't be uninformed, now can he? The swordsmen are back. Does that mean Kiri's civil war, the bloodline purging, has ended? Minato thought, mind racing through all the opportunities this new information brought up. What does a Kiri nin, a swordsman no less, want in Suna? I'd be happy to answer you, if you'd kindly stop holding a kunai to my friend's and mine throat. After pausing to consider, Minato holstered the two kunai and picked up the one at his feet in a blink. Explain. He commanded in his cold voice, stepping out from between the two to a polite distance. Seeming to ignore him, the girl whacked her friend over the head, Baka, telling him that much wasn't part of the plan. Scratching his head through his hat, the man shrugged. Don't do things half-assed, right? The girl sighed in defeat. Fine, she grumbled. The explanation, the Kiroi Senku, yellow flash, growled, breaking into the discussion. Gomen, the man said, turning to face Minato. First, allow me to introduce myself. As he spoke, his right hand went up to rest on top of his hat. I'm Kamigawa Kyushi, Eternal River Strong. Will, of the Kiri no Shinobi-gatana Nananan Shu, and personal Yojinbo, bodyguard, of the Yondaime Mizukage. Kyushi removed his hat, dropping it at his feet, as he spoke, revealing a handsome face. Blonde hair short and spiked, odd pale green eyes, 2 silver ring piercings in his left lobe and was oddly tanned for one hailing from Kiri's misty islands. The slight widening of his eyes showed Minato's surprise. There's a new Mizukage? Kyushi nodded. Hi. Just recently, Yondaime-chan came to the mist, and with her came stability Kirigakure hasn't had since the Nidaime Mizukage. She must be something indeed, then. And your purpose here in Suna? The man named Strongwell shrugged. Just coming to speak to the cage, but it seems that they're still not certain who will be taking the title, so we're leaving, until they decide. Reaching into his cloak, Kyushi pulled out a scroll. This is a scroll of alliance terms for Hai no Kuni, Land of Fire. Konohagakure, he said, handing the scroll out to Minato. We of the Mist have decided it's time for us to leave the Mist, and make our status known. Our first step is to build alliances. After a deliberation of the Kiri Council, Swordsmen, and Yondaime, we have decided to extend our hand to Suna and Konoha first. Minato took the scroll, replying with the same formality Kyushi had used. We of the Leaf are honored that we would be your first choice, and wish your Yondaime a long rule. Kyushi nodded as he picked up his hat and placed back on his head, once more obscuring his sharply handsome features in its shadows. We of the Mist hope you accept our terms, he replied, resting a hand on his companion's shoulder. Wait. Minato called as he finally managed to detect a faint sliver of the man's chakra. What the fucking hell are you? Kyushi's chakra felt like a demon's, but it felt different from a Jinchuriki's or Hanyu's. Kyushi laughed, all in good time, Namikaze-san. A mist began to appear, obscuring the cloaked people, the slight jump in the unnamed woman's chakra a clear indication of the cause. Water jutsu, in a fucking desert? Minato felt his jaw hit the floor. Even the famed water master Naidame Hokage would have had trouble. And I hope to meet your son, Namikaze-san, one day. I have much to talk to him about. Kyushi spoke through the thickening mist. When the mist was so thick it completely blocked Minato's view, the woman's chakra jumped again as a sound akin to thunder cannoned off. The mist dispersed a moment later to reveal the two gone. Expanding his senses, Minato found he couldn't detect the woman in any way, and he could barely sense the man even when he was right in front of him, so it wasn't a surprise to him that he couldn't detect the other man's demon-like chakra at all now. They're incredibly good at cloaking themselves, and they are almost at my level of speed. They're fucking good. The resurrected Hokage thought as he started walking again, a silly grin spreading across his face. Things are sure to get very interesting in the world with the revival of Kiri. Sasuke ground his teeth in anger. Stop messing around and make up your mind. Sakin commanded as he and rest of the Sound Four stood over the Uchiha. You coming with us or not? Sasuke just glowered deeper. Though there seems to be no point in forcing you to come with us. Sakin continued. Orochimaru can be such a pain. I just want to kill a brat hesitant and weak. Sasuke's reaction to the taunt wasn't anything like the four had expected. He activated his curse seal. Anybody catch the number of tails on that Biju? Naruto asked with a groan. That would be one, Naruto-kun. Hinata's voice drifted over to him from his right. I remember now, thanks, Hinata-chan. Naruto opened his eyes, winching at his hospital room's bright lights, and turned towards his right, finding both Hinata and Sakura sitting at his bedside. Hi. Hinata-chan, Sakura-chan. How long was I out this time? Just long enough to miss the negotiations. Sakura answered. 2 days, they were pretty fast. It seemed that there was a little glitch thrown in by Minato-san, but with Suna being the loser of their instigated invasion, they bowed to our demands easily enough. Sheesh, you make it sound like we made outrageous demands. What we demanded was actually pretty light, all things considered, Minato said, stepping into the room. To-san, Minato-san. The kids greeted. The older of the two blondes present rolled his eyes. I told you two to just call me Minato, girls. He grunted, annoyed he had to keep telling them that. How you feeling, Sochi? Like I fought a Jinchuriki, Naruto replied sarcastically. Minato rolled his eyes. Duh, Baka Sochi. Baki sighed, rubbing his temples as he pored over the cage paperwork. Baki sounded as a messenger bird flew through his office window. Taking the message and reading through it, the temporary cage jumped to his feet. Shit. He ran to find the Leaf delegation. The note left on his desk read, the Uchiha has gone renegade, seen leaving with the Sound Four, return to the village immediately. Jiraiya. Arashi-san. Minato looked up from his game of shogi with Tada, who was in control of Naruto's body while Kyuubi had a talk with Naruto about something or another, as heard his alias called. Hinata and Sakura also looked up curious from their chairs on either side of Naruto's bed, the shogi board lying on the boy's stomach. Tada just reclined back in bed with his odd eyes closed. A word, the temp cage asked nervously. Raising an eyebrow, the reincarnated Kage stood. Sure thing, Baki-san, and walked out the door so they could speak in private. Naruto's back. Tada murmured lazily as slanted pupils shrank to small orbs, deep icy ocean blue becoming sapphire and the lethargic glaze becoming energetic sheen. Welcome back, Naruto-kun, the girls greeted. Hey, girls, Naruto replied with a yawn and stretch, realizing too late he had a shogi board on his stomach and sent the board in pieces askew across his bed when he sat up. My bad, he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. Before he could scramble to try and pick up the pieces, Minato walked back into the room, his look as cold as it had with the two from the mist but with a defining feeling of raw anger. Uchiha Sasuke has gone to Orochimaru, he said in a tone saying, quite clearly, that he wasn't joking in the slightest. Sasuke did what? Naruto and Sakura yelled. The bastard has gone nuke. He was seen leaving with the Sound Four. You'd know them as the four that had held the barrier when Orochimaru fought Sarutobi, Minato growled. Naruto bowed his head. Why, Sasuke? Sure he hadn't hung out with the black-haired Avenger recently, but he hadn't expected him to run to Orochimaru. He thought Sasuke was stronger-willed than that. Next to the blonde, Sakura fell into a chair beside Naruto's bed. Sasuke. The silence was choking the room. Minato coughed to break it. I have a kunai on my face. He was talking about his Hiraishin kunai and his face on the Hokage monument. With my chakra levels as they are, I can take myself and one other to the village. I won't have enough for another trip. Naruto looked up with determined eyes. I'll go. As expected, the Yondaime nodded. Get your gear together, he ordered, and meet me at the east gate. We leave in 10 minutes. With that, he walked out of the room. With a serious look on his face, Naruto got up from bed, causing the girls to blush despite the situation as he was only wearing black boxers, and proceeded to dress quickly. Naruto-kun. Sakura wasn't thinking enough to not add the kun. She had long since mentally added to his name. Naruto paused as he buttoned his black and orange shorts. Please, bring him back to us, the pinkhead asked, not in the desperate tone of someone that lost the one she loved, but one that wanted someone she saw as a friend back, which surprised Naruto greatly. Is she over him? Naruto thought. You're just now figuring that out? Shido's voice drifted through Naruto's mind. Ignoring the sin, Naruto snapped out of his slight pause. I will. Sakura-chan, the blonde promised, eyes determined, as he reached for a shirt. It was his favorite black one with an orange spiral. I know, Naruto, I know, Sakura said with a small smile. Fully dressed and ready for a fight, Naruto gave each girl a quick hug before scurrying from the room. The girls, blushing lightly from the hug, looked at each other. How many bones do you think he'll break to get Sasuke back? Sakura asked curiously. You mean his or Sasuke's? Hinata returned, smiling mischievously. Both, the pinkhead replied, mirroring the lavender-haired girl's smile. Well, it's actually a little shorter than the last one, but is out faster than Chap 11, barely. I'm sorry, but a combination of a lack of inspiration and life in general has slowed down this story incredibly. This chap, sadly, screams filler, but the next will have the whole Sasuke retrieval arc in it, so, yeah. My grades right now are garbage, so I'm not going to have much computer access for a while, no promises on any updates soon. Later's the sins have some fun sin. Japanese name, true name Greed, Danyoku, Arashi, Storm, Sloth, Tada, Mond, Moon, Lust, Nikuyoku, Wrath Gakido, Pride, Kumon, Gluttony, Baoshoku, Envy, Shido, Last Time. You mean his or Sasuke's? Hinata returned, smiling mischievously. Both, the pinkhead replied, mirroring the lavender-haired girl's smile. Now, Futame-san, Uzumaki-san, father and son turned towards the voice, surprised to see the normally confident and proud Temari, wearing her full battle attire, standing behind them with a nervous expression on her flushed face. Yes, Temari-san? Naruto asked curiously, may I come with you too? Why? Minato asked, eyeing the female blonde. The Kage daughter's blush deepened. Sighing, she just said it. I think that I know one of the ninja that would have been sent after Uchiha, and... Why, Temari? Naruto asked, grinning slightly. You wouldn't happen to have a crush on a certain lazy ninja? Her blush was answer enough. So, that's who it was. Flashback. You would like a marriage contract to strengthen the alliance? One of the Suna councilmen asked. Minato nodded towards the man. The only one who is of the right status to be involved in such a thing is Tamari, Bucky said. But Minato raised an eyebrow. Yes? Tamari already has her sights set on a certain someone, and Bucky bowed his head. Please don't stop her in her pursuit because of Suna's mistakes. She's had enough grief for our mistakes as is. Besides, the man is a leaf nin. The Yondaime Hokage nodded. I won't break up a potential love for something like this. Besides, it's still a leaf sand couple. End flashback. The way we're traveling is going to be very draining to me, Tamari-san. Minato said with a sigh. I don't have enough chakra for all three of us. Naruto gave one look at Temari's face and sighed. Is there a way for you to just send us, and not come yourself? He hadn't had a chance to study his father's name Sake Jutsu, so he didn't know if what he was suggesting was possible. The older blonde scratched his chin in thought. It is possible, in theory, but I've never tried it before. He looked at the two younger ninjas seriously. You willing to be guinea pigs? Tamari and Naruto shared a slightly nervous look before nodding. Minato grinned wolfishly. Then, hold on to this, the both of you. He held out one of his special kunai. They did so, and the Yondaime started an inge set. Hold on to your stomachs. He held the seal for Ram. Hiraishin no jutsu. He yelled, his chakra jumping outrageously high. Moving at that speed should be illegal, Naruto grunted as he sped towards Kanaho's south gate. He spoke, of course, of the almost teleportation-level speed of his father's Hiraishin jutsu. He had nearly lost what food he had in his god when they had fallen out of what Naruto thought to be Mach 5. Surprisingly, Tamari and Tada had the same question. Who's going to stop him? TCH, Naruto grunted, picking up speed as he ran through the gates. What I don't get, Tada spoke, and everyone listened, is how that messenger pigeon got to Suna so fast. Kyuheim, Naruto asked. Yeah, the demoness replied. How old is the trail we're following? I can follow it, but I can't tell its age. It's only an hour old, she answered after a pause. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he took to the trees. A team should have been sent out as soon as Sasuke left. Why is Shikamaru's team sent so recent, when it would have taken a messenger pigeon several days to reach Suna? Nobody had an answer to that question. 7 people sat around a forest clearing, all dressed as Kyushi had been. What should we do? Kamigawa-sama. A woman's voice spoke from under the straw hat of one of figures resting against a tree's base. About what? Misakiko-chan, beautiful blossom child. Another replied, this one sitting up in one of the tree branches strong enough to support him. And always so formal, please relax a bit. There was a grin in the blonde's voice. Misakiko didn't reply, but the ones around knew there was a blush staining her cheeks under the hat's shadow. Another one snorted. Don't act fucking stupid, Kyushi-sama, you know she means the situation with those damn leaf babies. A young woman shouldn't use such language, Miyako, beautiful. Night child. Yet another spoke, this one at the base of the very tree Kyushi sat high in the branches of, the voice a calm, cultured tone. Shut the fuck up, Takehiko, soldier prince. Miyako growled. Kyushi sighed, looking at the cloaked figure to Misakiko's right and the one beneath him. Both of you could learn not to fight amongst yourselves. The swordsman yawned, as for the Leaf's problem, they ain't our allies yet, and you all know how I feel about Uchihas. Hi, the 6, even the ones yet to speak, intoned as one. They should all fucking die, the damn Dutchafags. Kyushi laughed so hard his hat fell off, revealing his sharply handsome face. You lot just can't do anything other than that together, hey? He asked through his laughter. Kyushi-sama, one of the cloaked, another man by the brash voice, said as he appeared standing beneath Kyushi's tree and catching the man's hat. If you truly didn't want to assist the Leaf, why did you send the Suna congregation a letter informing them of this incident while, left alone, they would not have found out for several more days? Kyushi chuckled. For a show, of course. The smile on his lips was a darkly amused one. It was a Demon King's smile. Would you be so kind as to show us Naruto-san, Miyako-chan? The woman grunted and performed several hand seals before calling out a jutsu. Hisakenjuki Ice World Sight. There was a pop, like several bottles opening, and a dozen streams of water traveled out of her cloak and converged in front of her to form a large ball of water that quickly froze over. Shoken. View. Namikaze Naruto, she continued after a minute, and an image of the Jinchuriki running through the trees appeared on the ice. Thanks, the blonde-haired man said with a grin. Now, let's see how he does. The seven settled down to watch the show. Something is watching us, Naruto. Tada's sudden speech, after little over a half hour of silence from everyone, made Naruto miss his landing. Fuck! He yelled in agitation, managing to grab the branch and pull himself back up. You okay, Naruto? Temari asked, honoring his request to drop the formalities, pausing next to the other blonde. Fine, Temari, Naruto grunted. Damn it, Tada. Naruto thought as he started running again. I've had more than enough falls from high places for one life, thanks. He could feel the sloth's indifferent shrug, and sighed. You know who's watching us. Neen. No, Tada answered. Nor do I detect malice or killer intent, simply an idle curiosity. I'll deal with it. Naruto was cut off by a large crash. What the hell? Naruto yelled, jumping to the top of the tree to see over the forest. That's one big Choji, he muttered, wide-eyed as he recognized his fellow leaf ninja under the strongest multi-size jutsu he had ever seen. Temari, who had followed him up, could only nod in reply. He's massive, but still so far off, Naruto mumbled, diving down into the trees and starting to run again, Temari following right behind. Choji, hey, Akamichi Choji, the boy groaned, opening one tired eye. Oi, fatty. Don't call me fat, the boy exclaimed, rather pathetically, on reflex. Choji was exhausted, and obvious after effect of the special pills, and, he decided as he looked at the person that had woke him up, and delirious. Fat Naruto, he asked. It was true, standing before him was an obese Naruto with beady black eyes, and he probably weighed 200 pounds in fat. No, the obese blob replied airily, waving a fat finger in front of him. Me Bushoku, sin of gluttony and the cook of the seven. Now he remembered. Naruto's bloodline gave him multiple personalities that symbolize the seven deadly sins. How are you outside of Naruto's mind? The fat blob tapped one of his chins in thought. To tell or not to tell, he shook his head. Nah, Tada said to take you back. The fatty picked up the barely conscious Akamichi. Oh, and Naruto says you look good. Bushoku said as he walked away from the tree with an arrow mark that Choji had been sitting against with the boy over his shoulder. Maybe I'll stay slim, hey. The brown-haired boy replied with a ruthful grin. Hey, Choji broke the silence as they passed through where he had fought the Sound 4 fatty. Where's that Sound guy? Bushoku grinned broadly, he had tough meat. Choji decided he didn't want to know, finding the allure of unconsciousness more appealing. Hello, Hyuga-san. Neji opened his eyes to stare up at a figure obscured in shadow by the sun behind it. Naruto. The branch clan member asked. Kumin. The shadow replied curtly. Ah. Neji replied. You should hurry ahead. The others have a lead on you. Kumin chuckled. Naruto has learned one of his bloodline's trickier abilities, separation of the sin from himself, giving us our own bodies. Neji chuckled, but stopped when he felt the hole in his chest start to ache with the vibrations. He made pride incarnate carry me. I'm honored. Kumin snorted. None of the others wanted to deal with Hyuga pride, said it was more my thing. I wonder why. Do I need to knock you out? It would do me wonders. Consider it a gift, then, Kumin said, pinching a pressure joint on the brunette's neck that allowed him to sleep. Can I tear you apart? Uken jumped at the voice speaking in his ear, spinning around. Who the hell? Gakido, the Sin replied, smiling evilly, Sin of Wrath, and Brawler of the Seven. Uken gritted his teeth, and lunged at the Sin with the kunai he had meant to kill Kiba with in hand. He hadn't anticipated that Gakido's arm would stretch out and wrap around him like a python. The Sin grinned maliciously, his other hand leveling his claws with the boy's face. I guess I can. In the most brutal way Kiba had ever thought possible, Uken, and the brother he shared a body with, died. Temari. The blonde blinked, focusing her eyes on Naruto's back. Hi. He turned his head to side enough to let her see the grin on his face. I don't want to use up any more chakra on Shichitai no Zayaku, 7 forms of sin, then I have to. Temari nodded, not knowing where this was going. So, his grin broadened. I'll leave the next guy to you, say hi to Shikamaru for me. Bolstering his legs with more chakra, he left Temari in the proverbial dust. After she got over her surprise, Tamari grinned. Thanks, Naruto. Kimimaro paused at the end of the clearing, turning to face the other direction. I'll kill you when we get back, he thought to the female member of the Sound 5-4. A second later, Naruto leapt from the trees, forming a small crater beneath him. Where is Sasuke? Almost as if Naruto's voice had been a cue, the barrel beside the feminine man burst open and a figure burst from it. Oi, Tem. Naruto started before the smoke cleared, he could recognize that profile anyway. What the hell are you doing? Let's go back. Sasuke's silhouette ignored him, laughed manically, and ran off. That was queer, Nikuyoku said, sweat dropping. Those left in Naruto's head nodded. Naruto focused on the white-haired boy. Sorry, Whitey, but I need to get moving, which one of you wants him? Single quote. I'll do it. Grinning, Naruto formed his Kage Bunshin cross, then 3 signs that Kimimaro didn't recognize. So, you'll play with this guy. Shichitai no Zayaku. Danyoku, 7 forms of sin. Greed. Kyushi grinned as he heard Naruto's words. Show me your power, ancestor. Single quote. There was a surge of smoke next to Naruto. When it cleared, Greed Incarnate stood beside Naruto. Get going, Naruto. The Sin spoke, his voice filled with confidence and his purple eyes glowing with an inner light. I will show him the power of the greediest. Naruto ginned, wide and fox-like, sure. And he left the clearing. And where do you think you're going? Kimimaro asked, blurring in front of Naruto with a bone sword ready. Wherever he damn well pleases, Danyoku answered, blurring between them and blocking the sword with his palm. Now get your ass in gear and barge it, Naruto. The Sin ordered, without sparing the boy a glance. Grinning widely, he snapped the bone sword. I'll show him the power of the greediest. Kimimaro jumped away from the Sin, his full attention centered on him, and let Naruto leave. What are you? Danyoku rolled his neck with loud pops as he answered. I am the one that wants everything in this world. I want money, I want power, I want fame, and I want women. I am the goddamn greediest person in the world. I am greed. And right now your death tops my list of things I want. His forearms bulged slightly as his almost black purplish blue armor spread up to his elbow. With a tense of his leg muscles, Danyoku shot forward. Fast, the Kagaya thought as he went on the defense, quickly forming another bone blade from his left elbow. His skin is impenetrable, and his blows strong and his speed is above mine. You're a Kagaya, aren't ya? Kimimaro's pale emerald eyes widened, his surprise allowing Danyoku land a hit on him that sent him reeling. How do you know about my clan? The Kagaya asked, righting himself and attacking. The last time the Sins were awakened, I met a Kagaya, Danyoku answered, lazily blocking the strikes. He was quite a bit better than you, though. The Sins can remember the other times they've been awakened. Kimimaro thought. If it's an old bloodline, they could know things from centuries ago, jutsu from lifetimes ago. Single quote. Gahahaha. The Sin laughed when he saw the white-haired boy's face and guessed thoughts he was having. No, boy, not all the Sins remember the past. Only their 2 leaders do. The Sin started to perform Inge. Only the laziest and the greediest do. My endless greed doesn't even let me forget the past. Danyoku boasted, stopping his hand movements and raising his hands above his head. And that includes my true name. Here's a hint what it is. Danyoku made no loud proclamation of his attack, but when he brought his hands together with a loud clap in front of him, an angry wave of lightning shot at Kimimaro all the same. Kimimaro managed to move just in time. You missed. He deadpanned. Danyoku just grinned, and started moving in an oddly rigid way. Did I really? Sensing something behind him, the white-haired boy jumped to the side in time to avoid a lightning bolt from hitting him in the back. How? The greediest shrugged. Do you think that ninja jutsus have been the only types of attacks invented in the last 3,000 years, child? There have hundreds of different abilities, and there will be thousands before time's up for this world. Danyoku narrowed his eyes as he sensed Kimimaro's chakra spiking. Now, Bone Boy, he started moving in that same rigid way he had when controlling the lightning, and electricity started to dance at his feet. I think I've shared enough information on a corpse to be, now let's make you a corpse, well and truly dead. With that, Greed pushed off against the ground and ran in front of the towhead before he could react, and grabbed his head with his armor-covered right hand, the skull cracking under the pressure of the Sin's grip. The last thing Kimimaro heard in his life was Danyoku, with the finality of death itself. Die. And he did. A human could only take so many hundreds of thousands of volts, shocking them without their heart failing them after all. The swordsmen sat in silence, knowing that fight they had just watched had been completely one-sided from the get-go. That, their leader spoke from his spot above them all. As the power of my blood heritage. They fully understood his meaning, and the six shuddered at the veiled reminder that they served something greater and more powerful than anything that currently belonged in the mortal planes. Because, as powerful as the Kamigawa bloodline was, it was nothing compared to Kyushi's sole inheritance. Only one of them spoke, and it was the most daring of all of the six, and Kyushi's right hand. Yaha. Naruto's face was set in marble as he stopped at the edge of a lake and looked up to the land beside the top of the waterfall that fed the lake. Teme, the shadowy figure above, glared down with crimson eyes. Dobi. Yes, I am evil for leaving you all with another Cliffy, but it's either be happy with a Cliffy or wait another month for an update, cause today's the last I am allowed to type for an indefinite amount of time. I maybe be able to get something posted at a friend's house, but I honestly can't say it'd work on this at a friend's house, so don't get your hopes up. 1. It's like how Azula, or another lightning bender, would move in at laters.